Maru is an ugly fat middle schooler forced to watch a soccer documentary by his dad even though he really does not like it, but after some time he starts to get hooked on it. What pulls him into soccer the most is how the players throw themselves into the match without being scared of getting hurt. For the very first time in his life, Maru feels like there is something he really wants to do. So, he decides that he will play soccer himself. He then goes over to the kids in the neighborhood and asks if he can play soccer with them, but none of them are willing to take him into their team. However, he finally gives up and he starts imagining everything around him as a soccer ball, even his own dad's shiny bald head. The very next day, the kids finally agree to let him stay but only as a ball boy, so he accepts it and works really hard while running after the ball. Not long after, his dad surprises him by buying him a real soccer ball, and from then on, he begins training all by himself. After spending so much time and effort practicing on the ground, he finally becomes known as the Super Ball Boy. However, all the people in the neighborhood begin to call him Errand Boy, always asking him to buy things for them. One of the team members even tells him to carry their belongings and act like their personal worker. They then take him along to their practice session while warning him that if he ever decides to quit or drop out, he will never be able to become a true soccer hero in the future. As he listens to them, he starts to wonder if by keeping himself around these skilled and elite students, he might one day be seen as a hero too. Suddenly, a soccer ball hits his head, and when he looks around there are two teenagers. One of them named Sangwon apologizes for making a mistake and hitting him, but the other one named Shu is angry. Maru's bullies tell him that they are members of the soccer team, and he should give their ball back, but since the road is downhill, Maru kept running along with the ball. In front of him is a construction site with a cliff, but Maru manages to save the ball from getting inside it and runs through the placed objects. However, there is another cliff in front of him, so Maru leaps through it like a professional soccer player and hits the ball with a spin, but the ball hits a tree, and it hits him back in the face. Afterward, the bullies start hitting Maru for breaking their stuff, but Shu hits them with the ball and asks Maru if he wants to come and try out for the soccer team. Maru happily accepts Shu's offer to join the soccer team, but at the same time Shu keeps wondering how Maru is ever going to try out with the kind of body he has. On the very next day, another NEET who is just like Maru runs quickly through the school corridor to tell Jinho the news about Maru joining the soccer team. Jinho is already busy trying to feed something to a thug, but as soon as he hears that Maru has been accepted, he drops everything and runs together with the other boy. Right then, a delinquent suddenly shows up right in front of them and demands his pizza bread, but since the two clowns forgot to bring it for him, he gets angry and raises his fist to punch them. But then Maru suddenly appears and stuffs the pizza bread straight into his mouth. Both of them begin to admire Maru because they are in the same situation as him, and very quickly they become close friends who stay together. One day, Maru shows up to them with his whole body covered in bruises, and the reason is that he kicked the ball the wrong way, so everyone ended up beating him badly. His friends ask him why he cannot just stop being the ball boy if it hurts him so much, and Maru explains that if he stops, then the soccer team will never notice him. Finally, the day of the freshman tryouts arrives, and everyone lines up to receive their jerseys from the soccer team's manager, Chattel Park. When it is Maru's turn, Chattel looks at him and asks if he is the one who applied for the team's manager position, but Maru replies that he is not here to become a manager at all. Just then, Shu steps in and explains clearly that Maru is here for the actual tryouts as a player, not as a helper. After that, all the students walk onto the field, and once the game begins, the orange team takes the kickoff to start the match. Maru immediately sprints across the field trying to reach the ball, but within only 15 seconds he becomes exhausted and slows down. Watching this, everyone begins to think that Maru is completely useless and that they should not even consider him a real player for the team. Afterward, the ball reaches the orange-haired guy on Maru's team, and he tries to hit it with his head but ends up making a foul instead. Maru keeps running around the field non-stop because he cannot keep up with the speed of any of the other players, and before long he trips and falls down on the ground. Lying there, he realizes that this is what real soccer actually looks like and how hard it is compared to what he imagined. Just then, Maru notices that his teammates are moving in his direction with the ball, so he quickly pushes himself back onto his feet. However, the player carrying the ball gets trapped by the opponents and, with no other choice, decides to pass it straight over to Maru. It turns out that the move is only a fake pass, and the guy actually decides to hit the ball himself, but even then, the ball does not end up going inside the goal net. Maru's friends quickly realize that the opposing team is leaving Maru alone on purpose because they want his own teammate to pass the ball to him and watch what happens. They also come to understand that Maru needs to earn the trust of his team and prove that he has some kind of potential if he really wants to stay. However, even though several good openings appear during the match, Maru keeps struggling badly because his body is overweight and he cannot keep up. Afterward, he rushes toward the ball at the same time as another teammate, but instead of getting it he ends up smashing his head into his friend's head, and the two of them collapse. Afterward, Maru starts thinking about all his struggles and wonders to himself that if he had worked harder in the past, he might have actually had a real chance of keeping up with the other players. Soon after, Maru makes another attempt and runs straight toward the ball again, but once more he slips and falls, and the ball almost rolls out of bounds. At that moment, one of Maru's friends shouted loudly at him that he should grab the ball quickly before it is too late. Maru pushes himself up and somehow manages to save the ball, then charges forward toward the goalkeeper, but already two defenders are chasing right behind him. Then, in a surprising move that no one expects, Maru suddenly gives the ball away, and right after that, another member of his team rushes from behind and takes control of it. Everyone gets shocked at how Maru got the time to even look behind. Just then, the defenders surround Maru's teammate, who then passes the ball back to Maru. However, Maru gets confused and thinks that losers like him are always aware of many dangers that lurk in classroom. To avoid beating, the losers constantly stay in alert mode, and this skill cannot be perfect by any ordinary person. This is exactly why Maru can sense some things that others cannot. Maru then doesn't touch the ball and lets it pass to his teammate who is behind him. Afterwards, all the opponent members runs towards that guy to steal the ball, but he again passes to Maru, and this time, Maru runs towards the goalkeeper. Afterward, Maru finds himself standing face to face with the goalkeeper, who is so massive in size that his body almost blocks the entire goal by itself. Maru begins to panic, but he gathers up enough courage to take a shot, only for the ball to roll just a few inches away. Meanwhile, Shu explains to the manager and another teammate that Maru actually pinpointed the exact position of the player behind him and passed the ball to him on purpose, and after that he got the ball back and managed to shake off the entire defense line, which makes his plan look absolutely genius. Because of Maru's missed chance, the orange team quickly begins a counterattack, and two players named Jongwon and Donghyun move in perfect sync with each other and manage to score 3 goals in a row. Just then, a genius player named Sungo arrives at the field and asks Shu if he can step in and play, but they tell him that the match had already started 5 minutes ago. Sungo simply replies that he should be allowed to substitute with anyone from the losing team to make it fair. Afterward, the plan is made to substitute Maru out of the game, but another player suddenly shows up and says that he is injured, so Shu decides to substitute for him instead of Maru. Afterward, the game starts again and the goalkeeper throws the ball toward the red-haired guy on their side, but Sungo quickly tells him that if they really want to win, he should pass the ball to him instead. The red-haired player listens and sends the ball over, and Sungo immediately takes control and slides right through the middle of all the other players with ease. Watching this, Shu thinks to himself that Sungo fooled the defender with his tricky footwork and then cut sharply toward the opposite direction to escape. After that, Sungo pushes into the danger zone near the goal, and the orange team players become so angry that they feel like dragging him down by grabbing his jersey. However, before they can catch him, Sungo kicks the ball forward and sprints after it at full speed. Afterward, the goalkeeper stands right in front of Sungo, but Sungo simply kicks the ball with full force and sends it straight into the goal. Right after scoring, he asks his teammates how much time is left, and when he hears that only 3 minutes remain, he wastes no time and quickly scores 3 more goals. After this, the opponent team builds what they call a bus, which means they form 2 strong defensive lines in front of the goalpost, just like a bus blocking the way. 3 of the orange team players position themselves directly in front of Sungo, and he grows frustrated because he cannot even see the goal clearly. He then realizes that most of his teammates are already tired and showing little interest in moving, but at that moment he notices Maru standing free, so he decides to pass the ball over to him. Instead of the ball landing on Maru's feet, it smacks right into his face, but by pure luck it goes straight into the goal, and his team win the match. Later on, Shu stands in front of everyone and begins to read out the names of the successful candidates who passed the test, calling out Dongchi, Hyungsip, Sungo, and several others as the list continues. Finally, at the very end, Shu also announces Maru's name as one of the players who made it through, which surprises the crowd. The moment Mincheol hears that Maru actually passed, he becomes furious, wondering how a fat loser like him could be chosen when even they could not. Afterward, Maru's friends come over with big smiles to congratulate him for passing the test and finally making it onto the soccer team, which makes him feel proud. The next day at school, Maru's teacher tells the whole class that they will be doing self-study, and he warns them that if anyone dares to skip it they are going to be dead meat. Before he leaves the classroom, the teacher suddenly calls out Maru's name and tells him to come to his office. Just then, Maru's thug shows up and asks him what kind of trouble his little boy has gotten himself into this time, but Maru calmly says that there is nothing to worry about. In the faculty room, Maru's teacher asks him if he wants to join the soccer team, but when Maru says yes, he gets mad at him for wanting to play soccer in his ugly shape. He yells at Maru that he should exercise more, and if he doesn't it's going to be difficult for him. The teacher warns Maru that if his grades drop any further, he is going to beat him up for sure. However, Maru answers back that he already has the lowest grades in the entire school, so it is impossible for his score to go into the negatives. Still, the teacher insists that he cannot allow his student to keep walking down the wrong path, but Maru suddenly asks his teacher if there is anything he personally regrets in his own life. After that, Maru begins sharing his depressing life story with him in frustration and then storms away. On his way out, he bumps into Shu, who breaks the bad news that he has been kicked out of the soccer team because everyone voted against him staying. Later that night, Maru walks on his way back home, thinking sadly about how nobody seems to believe in him, when he unexpectedly runs into Shu again. This time, Shu tells him that he has exactly 1 month to lose weight, and if he succeeds, he will recommend him for the team again. Afterward, Maru heads into a nearby restaurant, where a baddie named Yuna spots him and immediately gets excited to see him. Yuna and her mother both get really excited the moment they see Maru walk in, because he is the reason their restaurant has been hitting 100% sales. They quickly make Maru sit down at a table, then rush to bring him his usual order. However, Maru cannot stop blushing as he watches Yuna smiling at him. Yuna quietly tells Maru that she has been working on a soccer manhwa, but she makes him promise not to tell her mother anything about it. Just then, Yuna's mother comes over to the table with a tray and serves the food to Maru, who immediately eats it like he has not had a proper meal in ages. After he is done eating, he tells them that he won't be coming back for a while, which makes Maru's mom gets angry because she thinks their sales are going to drop. Afterward, Maru heads back home where he finds his family already enjoying a big beef dinner together. He decides not to eat anything, but his grandmother insists and ends up forcing him to finish all the food on his plate until he cannot eat anymore. The next day, Maru shows up at school carrying some extra pounds, and when Shu sees him like this, he feels very disappointed. Meanwhile, Mincheol and his friend are watching everything, and the friend tells Mincheol that if Maru actually manages to lose weight, then he will get back on the team. Later on, Maru's friends spend some time joking around and chilling while lying on Maru's large family pack stomach. They tell Maru that he needs to stop eating so much if he truly wants to join the soccer team, but Maru refuses to listen and instead walks off to grab even more snacks for himself. Just then, Junying shows up again and asks Maru if he brought something for him this time. However, when he notices Maru sitting there eating the pizza bread, he demands that Maru hand it over. However, Maru refuses to give it, which makes Junying furious. Shockingly, Junying then starts crying and asks Maru what has happened to him, since Maru has never once refused him in his entire life. At that moment, Maru's friend steps in and explains the whole situation to him so he can understand what is really going on. Afterward, Maru's friends tie him tightly to a seat so that he cannot sneak off and eat anything else no matter how hard he tries. They all decide together to eat the food that Maru had secretly stuffed inside his backpack, finishing every bit of it before he gets the chance. Just then, Mincheol and his group of puppets walk into the classroom, and Mincheol angrily asks Maru if he even realizes how badly he has humiliated him. He shouts that he has been playing soccer ever since he was only 5 years old, but now he has been eliminated from the team because of an ugly guy like Maru. Afterward, Mincheol takes out a big cream cake with almost 1700 calories along with a glass of juice, and Maru eats it all happily without holding back. Later at lunchtime, Mincheol decides to act like Maru's taxi driver by carrying him on his back, saying that he will take him anywhere he wants so that Maru cannot lose weight by walking. Meanwhile, outside the soccer team building, Yuna is secretly snapping pictures of everything she sees because she wants good reference material for working on her soccer manhwa. She then gets curious and decides to take a look inside, so she enters the building. To her surprise, the place is extremely clean and well kept, even though she had imagined it would be messy and dirty. Inside one of the lockers, she ends up finding the club manager, Chattel, who is busy cleaning the lockers. He asks Yuna what she is doing inside the soccer team's building, but just as Yuna is about to explain, the manager suddenly assumes that she is there to become the new manager of the club. He happily tells her that being the manager comes with breaks, eating out with the team, and even receiving a small scholarship. Hearing all that, Yuna suddenly becomes serious and says that it has always been her dream to become the soccer team's manager, so she will take the chance. Afterward, she puts up a note outside the building that they are no longer searching for managers anymore, and because of that, all the other girls who had gathered left. Chattel explains the team's schedule to Yuna, but just then, Mincheol shows up carrying Maru on his back and drops him at the building. Yuna gets shocked the moment she sees Maru there. After that, Maru hands his registration form to Chattel, who accepts it and says he will register him as a player. Later, when Maru and Yuna leave together, Maru makes up his mind that he will lose weight no matter what now that Yuna is part of the team. On the way, Yuna suddenly grabs his hand and makes him sit down on a bench. She tells him that her webcomic is going to be about an overweight main character like him who later transforms into a cool and handsome hero. The next day, Minchiel once again brings fruits and desserts for Maru, but this time Maru throws them away without hesitation. Right after that, another guy walks up and kicks Maru before slapping him again and again, saying they will never stop bringing him food. Soon after, Minchiel's whole group gangs up and start beating Maru and even his friends. Meanwhile, some people who didn't get the position to become the manager of the soccer team plans to get revenge on Yuna. Instead of taking revenge like he planned, the guy suddenly goes to Yuna and asks her to be with him in a very cringy way. Right after that, the whole school begins clapping and shouting for the guy, telling Yuna that she should accept him and date him. Yuna feels super embarrassed by what is happening, so she tries to run away to escape, but two other men quickly stop her. At that moment, a classroom window opens and a bucket of water gets thrown out, landing right on the guy's head. It turns out that the one who threw the water is Sungo, who shows up with an annoyed look. The guy becomes mad and kicks the bucket away with anger, but then Sungo climbs out from the window and asks him about who he really is. The guy says that he is the one who controls and runs this school, but right after hearing that, Sungo quickly grabs the water bucket and apologizes to him. However, the guy does not accept it and suddenly slaps Sungo across the face while also calling him some rude slur words. This makes Sungo really angry because Junyoung also messed up his carefully styled hair, and he has to spend a long time every single morning fixing it into perfect shape. A little while later, Yuna sits beside the bruised and hurt Sungo, trying to gently put some ointment on the spots where he got beaten earlier. While helping him, Yuna thanked him because, thanks to his action, she was able to reject the guy in front of everyone. At that moment, Maru suddenly opens the door and sees both of them sitting close and sharing a moment, so he quietly leaves. The next day, the soccer team gathered on the ground for some teamwork training along with their coach Palsik Joe. However, Shu tells the coach that they will do some basic training first and everyone wonders how he can talk to their coach like that. However, the coach happily agrees to him and tells everyone to do basic training. Everyone starts gossiping about Shu, saying he is the chairman's son and that there are rumors that he is in German Bundesliga's club. Meanwhile, Maru and his friends are going home after school, but instead of getting on the bus he chose to run. 1 month later, Maru loses weight and returns to meet Yuna, who is sitting in a bus stand. Instead of changing into a cool and handsome hero, Maru just ends up looking like a skinny geek who only managed to lose his extra weight. Yuna then takes out her story and shows him the main character in it, and that character happens to have the exact same hair color as Maru, which surprises him. Right after that, Shu calls Maru over and says to him that even though he has lost weight, he still does not look like a real soccer player at all. Shu then pulls out his credit card and tells him to go get a proper haircut and also buy some contact lenses to improve his look. After this, Maru actually gets a neat haircut, but during the school break, Hyung-seep asks Minjun why the upperclassmen always keep their distance during training. He explains that in the beginning, their school Haja actually had a coach who was known as Tiger Coach, and this man used to blackmail the players' parents so he could take money from them. Not only that, but he also treated the students very badly and even tortured them during practice. One day, however, Shu showed up, and at that moment Shu assaulted the Tiger Coach, which led to the coach finally getting fired from the school. After that incident, Shu stepped in and took the role of supervisor, and from then on, he began acting as the team's coach. As time passed, players started complaining about the way he handled things, but even after hearing all of their complaints, Shu did not back down. Back in the present time, a guy named Yangji shouts angrily at Shu because he is making the team do only basic training, and Yangji thinks that the freshmen will never be able to keep up with the skills of the older players. After saying this, Yangji turns his back and starts walking away. But Shu calls out to him and tells him that no other team is ever going to accept him since he refuses to listen to anyone else. At that same moment, Maru shows up, and now he looks much better than before after his changes. The sight of Maru makes Yangji furious, so Shu quickly steps in and says that Maru and Yangji should go head-to-head against each other. Later on, Maru is in the locker room changing his clothes when Yuna suddenly sneaks inside and quietly hands him his team jersey. While standing there, she notices the stretch marks on his skin that appeared because of how quickly he lost all that weight. Once Maru puts on the jersey, he heads outside and soon he and Yuna begin walking together toward the ground. After this, Maru finally steps onto the ground, and everyone around him becomes shocked when they see just how thin he looks now. Hyung-seep then points him out to Sungo and explains that he is actually Maru who lost a lot of weight, and as soon as Sungo recognizes him, he starts cheering loudly for him. Afterward, it suddenly begins to rain and Shu explains the rules that all they need to do is keep the ball from ever touching the ground, and they are allowed to use any part of their body to make that happen. He also adds that the challenge will be 3 full laps around the field, and whoever finishes first will be the winner. While watching them get ready, the other players start whispering to each other and thinking that Yangji really did not need to take part in this because he is already such a talented player who once studied in Brazil. They remember that he even won several awards back when he was still in elementary school, which makes his skills seem far above the rest. Hearing all of this, Maru begins to feel nervous, thinking that Yangji might truly be the better player, but Shu tells him to just do his best. Meanwhile, another person whispers some strategies into Yangji's ear to help him out before the challenge starts. After that, their match officially begins, and Maru is the first one to make a move as he starts kicking the ball, which actually surprises Yangji. Still confused, Yangji then looks at Shu and asks if the rule was not supposed to be about keeping the ball from touching the ground. Right after saying this, Yangji kicks the ball with so much force that it slams into Maru's head, causing Maru to fall down to the ground, but the ball returns to Yangji. Afterward, everyone in the area is shocked when they see Yangji showing off his perfect control and balance with the ball. Right after that, he smoothly flips the ball onto the back of his neck and lets it roll around before moving it up again until it rests perfectly on top of his head. He then begins walking forward with confidence while, at the same time, Maru has to return all the way back to the starting line to try once again. By this point, Yangji is already almost half a lap ahead of him, but the storm around them keeps getting worse, with the wind and rain making it harder to continue. To keep control, Yangji chooses to balance the ball carefully on his leg, but then he decides to glance behind him, and the moment he does that, the storm grows even stronger, making his ball wobble dangerously as if it is about to drop at any second. Meanwhile, Chattel explains to Yuna that even though the gap in skill between them is very big, it actually looks like Maru is steadier and more stable compared to Yangji. He points out that the reason is because every time Yangji kicks the ball with the top of his foot, the ball starts spinning wildly, and that makes it unstable instead of smooth. On the other side, one of Shu's friends asks him why he is still letting the match continue when it is clear that Yangji is winning without much trouble. In response, Shu says that even though Yangji has countless matches of experience, soccer can still be decided by just one single chance, and he believes that this one chance alone can determine who will come out as the winner. Then, all of a sudden, Yangji slips and falls down, causing him to lose the match completely, and out of anger he rushes towards Shu and punches him. Afterward, everyone rushes in and tries to hold Yangji back, but he keeps shouting at Shu, asking him if he even knows how to play real soccer at all. Shu then responds by asking Yangji if he wants to actually play against him to find out. On the other hand, Yuna starts to get worried about the situation, but Sungo turns to her and asks if she is the new team manager. Right after that, Sungo begins teasing her and makes fun of her, jokingly asking if that potato head tried to ask her out again. Meanwhile, Shu finally steps forward and gives Yangji a serious challenge, announcing that there will be a proper match this weekend where both of them will lead their own 7-player teams, and whoever loses that game will be completely kicked off the team. Yangji agrees to the match right away, and he tells his teammates that they need to gather all of the top players along with the upperclassmen to make sure they are on his side. Meanwhile, Maru is still on the field practicing with his soccer ball, but Yuna walks over to him and tells him that he should stop playing now since he already won the match and does not need to push himself further. On the other hand, Yangji's ugly-faced friend goes up to Sungo and asks him if he wants to join Yangji's team, and Sungo ends up agreeing to play alongside them. Later that day, Shu and his close friend are taking a shower, and during their talk, the friend tells Shu that he should not have challenged Yangji because he is considered one of their best players. Shu, however, replies calmly that this challenge is the only way to properly teach Yangji a lesson. On the other hand, Yangji goes to visit another player because he wants to recruit him to join his side for the upcoming match. The player turns out to be Jianu Sim, who is a third-year student and also plays as a strong striker for the team. Right at that moment, 2 boys from Suun school, named Lee Jae-ho and Jinu, suddenly show up and begin making fun of Yangji, mocking him for going to a school like Haja instead of somewhere better. Even though they laugh at him, Yangji keeps his cool and directly invites both of them to come and play together with him in the match that will be held this weekend. Afterward, Yangji's team is finally complete, but the most surprising member among them turns out to be Sangwon, who is Shu's close friend. Just the night before, Sangwon had told Shu directly that he had no ambition to ever become a professional soccer player and that he did not even see Shu as someone fit to be a coach. He went as far as threatening Shu not to joke around with soccer, reminding him that there are players whose entire lives depend on the game. However, Shu replied that he was not joking at all and that he had no intention of backing out. Back in the present, Jae-ho and Jinwoo start mocking Shu and make fun of him, saying that the only reason he ever made it into the national team was because of his money. Following this, both teams finally gather together on the ground and greet each other before the big match begins. The referee explains to everyone that each half of the game will last for 30 minutes. Right before the match begins, Youngji tells Minyoung to go bring him some snacks since he has no plan to play right away. After that, the match officially starts with Jae-ho from Youngji's team taking control of the ball as he quickly moves forward in Maru's direction. Jae-ho then pushes the ball a little ahead, which makes Maru believe that it might have slipped away from him, so Maru rushes in to take it but Jae-ho smirks and smoothly tosses the ball past him. Afterward, Shu manages to get closer to Jae-ho, thinking that Jae-ho has a lot of offensive power that needs to be stopped, but then another member from Shu's team suddenly abandons his position to try blocking Jae-ho as well. However, Jae-ho once again passes the ball forward with speed and runs after it like a cannonball. He then makes a sharp cross pass to Youngji, and instead of passing the ball to anyone else on his side, Youngji takes the shot himself, kicking it straight into the goal and scoring the first point. After that, Shu explains to Hyung-sip that he just needs to wait for the other players to come at him instead of moving too fast. He also adds that he should not feel scared because Youngji is a right-footed player, so he only needs to stop him from moving inside. Shu also talks about all of Youngji's steps and tells how his flow always comes from his left foot, which he uses to control his moves. Then the match starts again and Shu gets the ball, but Youngji comes in and tries to take it from him, so Shu quickly passes the ball to Hyung-sip who gives it right back to him. Before this, Shu already tells his team with care that the only thing they really need to do is focus on passing the ball, and to make sure they can do that. Back in the present, Shu sends the ball over to Maru, but right then Maru tries to pass it again. One of the players from Youngji's team pushes him aside and quickly takes the ball away from him. That player then kicks the ball over to Youngji, and at that moment Hyung-sip gets ready and plans to block him from moving to the inside part of the field. But Youngji suddenly uses a trick move, runs right past Hyung-sip, and keeps moving forward without slowing down. As he goes on, he notices many of his teammates shouting at him to pass the ball, but instead of giving it to them, he makes the choice to take a shot and the ball goes straight in. After that, one of Youngji's teammates gets upset with him for not passing the ball when he had the chance, but Youngji quickly promises that he will pass it to them the next time. Right after this moment, Shu takes control of the ball, and he thinks to himself that he needs to make a shot in order to raise his teammates' spirits. Shu then kicks the ball from quite a far distance across the field, and the ball goes in and scores, which makes all of his teammates cheer. Seeing that, Youngji's teammates start to think that maybe Shu's shooting is actually not so bad, but Youngji tells them that the shot was nothing more than plain luck. The game goes on again and Sungo calls out to Jianu asking for a pass, but Jianu decides to push forward on his own and tries to break through the defense. At that same moment, Youngji also runs up and asks for the ball, but Jianu ignores him too and keeps the ball with the idea of scoring by himself. Right then, Shu comes sliding in and manages to knock the ball away so it bounces off. Right after that Sungo shows up, takes the ball quickly for himself and he chooses not to pass it, deciding to take a shot all by himself. The ball strikes the goalpost and bounces away but Youngji manages to catch it right after. However, Hyung-sip quickly shows up in front of him, and this time he refuses to let Youngji slip past, so no matter how many times Youngji tries he just cannot get inside. Youngji then turns and runs toward the lower side of the field, but Hyung-sip stays right on him and does not back off. Noticing that, Youngji attempts to make a pass to one of his teammates, yet Hyung-sip blocks the pass before it can go through, and then he quickly sends the ball across toward Shu. At that moment, Sungo is rushing right behind Shu but Shu slides his body and changes the ball's direction so Sungo cannot even figure out where the ball has gone. After that, Shu sends the ball over to Maru and Maru quickly passes it along to another teammate. Soon after, Hyung-sip takes hold of the ball and when he looks up, he notices that his teammate Ojin is completely blocked by an opponent. He then glances toward Maru and thinks about whether it would be safe to pass it to him, but he also sees that another player is standing right behind him. At that moment, Maru suddenly makes a dash forward and Hyung-sip quickly decides to send the ball to him. Maru then sprints as fast as he possibly can but right when he gets further up the field, Jae-ho shows up, so Maru passes the ball toward Shu. Shu thinks about how Maru managed to pass the ball so perfectly to him. Right after, Sungo tries to shove Shu, but Shu pushes him back. Shu then looks for a chance to shoot, but more players step in and block their path. When he finally gets an opening, another player suddenly slides right in front of him. For years earlier in middle school, Shu is in the laundry room and asks someone why he has to do their laundry. The upperclassman tries to bully him into it, but Shu refuses and they leave. A kid named Songwon sees this and feels impressed, telling Shu that he is really brave. The next day, Shu, Songwon, and Suchun practice running together, and Songwon easily outruns them both. Even with his speed, Songwon does not make it into the soccer team, just like Shu and Suchun also fail to get in. The coach has a problem with Songwon and keeps complaining about him all the time. Later, some upperclassmen start to bully Songwon, but when they notice Shu coming their way they quickly run off. Later, Songwon goes to the coach's office but he stops when he sees the coach trying to bother his mom, so he quickly hides and stays quiet. While he is hiding, Shu suddenly comes in and picks up a brick, and then he hits the coach hard with it and knocks him down. A year later, Shu is now in Germany, but while he is there, he gets the sad news that Songwon has passed away. Back in the present time, Shu plays on the field and easily scores a goal and tells everyone that he is a better coach than anyone else. Now both teams have the same score, but Yangji's teammates begin to fight with each other, blaming one another for not passing the ball when they should have. Jaeho watches the game and feels that Shu's team has gotten strong momentum because of Shu's sharp play, since earlier he was waiting carefully for Maru's through pass to Shu. However, Maru surprised everyone because instead of sending the ball to Shu as expected, he suddenly kicked it toward the opposite side. This ends up being completely shocking for someone who is new to the game and not used to such moves. After the short break, the match continues once again and Yangji takes hold of the ball, his face filled with anger as he charges forward with force. As he keeps playing, he suddenly starts to realize that Shu's team is looking much stronger than before, almost as if their energy has come out of nowhere. Yangji's side tries to fight back by sending a whole barrage of attacks, but they keep wasting chance after chance because their teamwork is messy and their coordination is really poor. Soon after, Shu gains possession of the ball and instead of keeping it to himself, he quickly passes it toward his teammates, allowing them to control the flow of the game smoothly. Seeing the way the game is going, the others begin to realize that Yangji's team is putting all their focus on quick counterattacks, while Shu's team is calmly working with a steady build-up style of play. After noticing this, Chattel points out that the main player holding everything together in the middle is Maru, who keeps returning passes again and again. Right after that, one of Yangji's teammates rushes straight toward Maru in an attempt to steal the ball away, but Maru smoothly spins with the natural flow of the ball. He then pushes forward, running directly toward the goal with determination. However, Jaeho and Jinu stay right on Maru's tail and they quickly move in to tackle him but smartly pass the ball backward. Right away, another player from Shu's team takes the chance and shoots, scoring the goal. After the ball goes in, everyone rushes over to Maru, hugging him and celebrating with excitement. Watching all of this, Chattel explains that Yangji always plays with the single goal of scoring by himself, which makes it easier for defenders to read his movements. On the other hand, Maru has been patiently returning passes the whole time, but the one moment he chose to suddenly turn around and attack became the opening. Right now, the score is 3-2 with Shu's team in the lead. As the first half comes to an end, Yangji takes control of the ball, makes a fake move, and tries to run past the defense, but Hyung-seep kicks at his leg and the ball rolls over to Jianu. Just as Jianu gains possession, Sungo rushes in, steals the ball cleanly, and scores a goal, which leaves Jianu furious. Yangji and the others quickly try to calm him down but Jianu snaps back at Yangji, yelling and demanding if he thinks he is playing soccer all by himself. Watching the tension grow, Jaeho and Jinu decide to quit the match in the middle of the game, and on their way out they scold Yangji too, reminding him that they always fought during their time in Brazil because he refused to pass the ball back then. Before leaving, they insult the entire team by calling them trash, which makes every one of the players boil with anger. Jaeho looks at the rest of the team and asks if they have ever won any awards or if they have managed to produce even a single professional athlete. Since nobody can answer him, he and Jinu walk off the field and leave. After that, Yangji turns his anger toward Minju, but Minju and the others tell him they are leaving too because they are done. At that moment, the referee pulls out a red card which makes Yangji explode with rage as he grabs the referee tightly by the collar. The referee warns him that violent behavior is not allowed, reminding him that he has been hitting other players and now has even gone so far as to physically assault the referee himself. Just then, Shu tells Yangji to stop what he is doing, and he whispers to him that if he doesn't want to keep embarrassing himself any further, then he should just leave right away. Shu also makes it clear that Yangji is no longer part of the team. Later on, Shu turns to Jianu and asks if Yangji leaving the team will be a problem for him but Jianu says it is not, so Shu accepts him fully into the team. At the same time, Chattel watches and thinks to himself that ever since Maru arrived, it feels like the whole team is starting to change for the better and maybe even for good. Later that night, the chairman of Haja School, Dusik Song, and the coach of Suun School, Hakchil, sit together in an internet cafe and spend time playing a soccer video game against each other. It turns out that the two of them have made a bet where the loser has to call the other person boss, and in the end, Dusik, the chairman, loses the match. He struggles awkwardly to say the word boss to Hakchil, but instead of giving in, he suggests that they should settle things with a real soccer game since his own son is part of the team. The very next day, Dusik calls his son Shu and asks if he can manage to win against Suun School, and Shu confidently agrees, even saying that if he ends up losing the match, he will go as far as disbanding the soccer team completely. Later that night, everyone meets at the soccer team building and Shu tells them they have a match next week. He says if they lose, their team gets disbanded completely. Shu explains he doesn't mind much since he can leave the country and make another team, but he wants to win for everyone else because they never won any awards before. He then tells them that if they beat Suwon High School, they will get a new building and a much better soccer field to play on. The next day, everyone begins their training and Chattel walks up to Shu to ask him if the team is really going to get shut down because he has already made a budget plan for the next year. But Shu just smiles at him and tells him that everything he said was completely made up. After that, all the players start doing their shooting practice and Sungo does really well and performs better than everyone else. But when it becomes Maru's turn to practice shooting, he can't even kick the ball the right way, which makes Shu feel really angry. Later that night, Shu notices Maru looking through the window into the soccer building and wonders why he hasn't gone back home yet. Just then, Sangwon shows up and tells Shu that he was completely wrong about everything, and after watching all of today's practice sessions, he could clearly see with his own eyes that everyone on the team has really changed for the better. After saying this, he walks away and Shu keeps thinking about why Maru still hasn't gone back home yet like he should have by now. But it becomes clear that Maru is actually waiting around for Yuna so that both of them can go together to eat dinner at Yuna's mom's house. Right at that moment, Yuna finally comes out through the door. She is not by herself because Sungo is walking right behind her. Earlier, Yuna was sitting at her desk working on her webcomic when Sungo suddenly comes into the room and asks her what she is doing. After looking at her drawings, he tells her that she should just go home and draw there instead, but Yuna explains that she is too scared of her parents. He suddenly begins giving her a strange massage from behind. While doing this, Sungo mentions that his cousin is actually a webcomic artist who has created a very famous series, and hearing that, Yuna starts begging him to let her meet his cousin. Afterward, Sungo decides to take Yuna to meet his cousin, so the two of them leave the building together. Back in the present, Shu notices Maru and calls him over to join a practice session, where he begins teaching him about the basics of passing. Shu explains that a pass always involves two people, the one who sends the ball and the one who receives it, and then he asks Maru which player has the real power in that situation. Maru quickly answers that it has to be the sender, and Shu agrees. Meanwhile, Yuna and Sungo are riding a train, sitting very close to each other, and in that moment Sungo suddenly confesses his feelings to her. However, Yuna finds his confession ridiculous and rejects him. Later that night, Shu prepares the defense lineup for the upcoming match. Sangwon asks Shu if he is favoring Maru too much, but Shu says that Maru is good at positioning and he can understand his surroundings quickly. After filling every spot in the team, there is still one spot left and Sangwon asks Shu if that person is Yangji. The next day, Yangji again goes to a random team's coach and begs him to let him in the team, but the coach refuses. He then goes to various other teams and everyone rejects him. After that, a flashback shows that from an early age, Yangji never really stood out because of his short height, but he was still faster than most of the kids around him. Later, he traveled to Brazil for studying, but instead of focusing on school, he ended up meeting a strange group of people and started spending all of his time playing soccer with them. Yangji soon played more soccer than anyone else and became very skilled, but in order to show off his abilities, he began choosing to break through defenders on his own instead of passing the ball to teammates. The more he kept doing this, the more he became isolated, and slowly his trust in the game itself began to fade. Eventually, he returned to Korea, only to see the success of his old teammates who had gone abroad and were achieving more than him. Back to the present, Chattel tells Maru to clean up Yangji's locker room as he is going somewhere. When Maru starts cleaning, he finds a training log in Yangji's locker and turns out it has a lot of strategies written on it, so Maru starts learning them. Later that evening, Maru carries all of Yangji's belongings over to him and sets them down, telling him that he even went through his training log and learned a lot from it. He then starts calling Yangji truly amazing for the effort he had put in. Maru then explains that they are about to face Suwon High in a match, so everyone on the team is practicing hard to get ready. The very next day, Youngji comes to see Shu again and asks if he can be allowed back on the team. He lowers his head and apologizes for all the mistakes he made in the past, while Shu simply looks at him and starts smiling. Afterward, Shu looks at Youngji and tells him to stop playing soccer completely and focus on his studies instead, even asking what he has to show for himself after wasting the last 10 years. Hearing those words, Youngji breaks down in tears and begs Shu desperately to give him just one more chance. Suddenly, Shu's tone changes as he says that Youngji has achieved nothing in his life, yet now he wants to come back as if nothing happened. Losing his patience, Youngji shouts angrily at Shu, unable to hold back his frustration anymore. At that moment, Shu pulls the cloth away from the team planning board and reveals that Youngji's name has already been placed as part of the team. Afterward, the other teammates arrive as well and hand Youngji his jersey back, telling him to return to the field and play with them again. From there, they all begin practicing together with renewed energy, while Maru, even during training, still keeps thinking about Yuna and Sungo in the back of his mind. Later that night, Maru stays behind and works on his weak shots alone, calling them trash in his head, but Youngji notices him and walks over, telling him that he actually isn't as bad as he thinks. Youngji then explains that he is going to be the starter in their match against Suun and tells Maru that he should focus on passing the ball to him during the game. Hearing this, Maru asks if Youngji wants to practice passing work together and then begins talking to him about how they can do it. Meanwhile, the geek from before lurks in the shadows, watching them closely that make it seem like he is ready to kill them. The next morning, Maru wakes up and realizes that it is finally the day of the big match, but when he steps out of his room, his own dad mistook him for a thief. After that, Maru quickly eats his breakfast in a rush and then heads out of the house to leave for the game. Around the same time, Yuna shows up outside his house and calls for him to come out, but Maru answers that he has already left. Hearing that, Yuna decides to go with Sungo instead, and along the way Sungo hands her a small gift and tells her to eat something. Later on, all the players gather together at the Seoul train station, and Shu looks around asking where Maru is, so Yuna explains that Maru told her he went on ahead because he wanted extra time to warm up. Afterward, they finally arrive at the Suwon Stadium, where a reporter named Seonmi is already waiting outside, holding her camera and notebook, ready to cover the story of the match mainly because of Shu. She talks about how Shu assaulted the director of the soccer team twice in the past and claims that it was because of him that Korea lost its chance for victory right at the edge of winning. Meanwhile, Shu and the rest of his teammates step inside the stadium, but when they look around, they are surprised to see that the seats are completely empty, which makes them wonder if the other team is just somewhere else warming up before the match begins. Meanwhile, Maru is standing and waiting at the school bus stop, completely unaware that the bus has been cancelled and no one is coming to pick him up. Shu then calls him on the phone and tells him to grab a taxi right away and come to the stadium as fast as he can, but before Maru can do anything, a group of people suddenly shows up and kidnaps him. Back at the stadium, the Suwon team finally enters, and among them are Jaeho and Jinwoo, who immediately start mocking Shu and making fun of him. Since Maru is running late and still hasn't arrived, Shu looks at ugly Minyoung and tells him to get ready because he is going to be the one taking part in the match instead. Earlier, Shu had sent a message to everyone saying that the bus was cancelled and Maru was supposed to get it too. However, at that time he was showering with Hyung-seep, so he left his phone behind without checking it. Taking advantage of this, Minyoung quickly snatched Maru's phone and secretly deleted the message before he could ever see it. The next day, Minyoung goes to meet two soccer team rejects named Joyeon and Eniok and casually asks them if they hate Maru. As soon as they hear his name, both of them start showing how much anger they have been holding inside, saying that because of Maru they now have to study hard and can't even get a spot on the soccer team, which makes them furious. Afterward, Minyoung tells Joyeon and Eniok that they can finally get their revenge on Maru, and the two quickly agree to join his plan. Back in the present, the pair kidnaps Maru, tie him tightly to a chair, and ignore his desperate begging as he pleads with them to let him go since today is his most important game. Instead of listening, they start beating him up and cruelly tell him that he won't be getting out of there today no matter what. Meanwhile, Shu's father is waiting for Hakchil to arrive, and the moment he sees him, he rushes over, asking if he is ready for his entire team to be wiped out. At the same time, the same thug who once proposed to Yuna walks into the room where Joyeon and Eniok are keeping Maru tied up, and right after that, one of the men with green hair grabs Joyeon with one hand and demands that they hand over some money. Meanwhile, Shu explains that Suwon High School is filled with amazing soccer players. He further tells them that Suwon can change their formations at incredible speed and still work together smoothly. He warns that all of their players are capable of breaking through anything that tries to block them. When the match begins, Suun immediately pushes their formation up high and presses hard into the other team's side. Dongguk feels overwhelmed by their speed and quickly passes the ball away to a teammate, while Shu's team charges forward to fight for possession, believing that attacking right away is the strongest way to defend themselves. Afterward, Suwon's goalkeeper kicks the ball toward Jaeho, but right away Shu's team starts pressing hard to block the pass. Jaeho smirks to himself, thinking they must have planned all of this from the very start, and even mocks them in his head, wondering if they really believe this is the World Cup final. He pretends like he is about to shoot, but instead he keeps dribbling forward, waiting for the right moment. One player rushes in to stop him, but Jaeho easily blocks his attempt and keeps moving. Then Minyoung steps up as the second midfielder to challenge him, yet Jaeho slips right past him without much effort. Afterward, Dongguk heads the ball and then shoots it, and shot goes flying past Yongji, and everyone watching is surprised. The coach feels proud as he watches, and he tells all of them to keep running and not stop. Dongyeon, who is called the Black Panther and is known as the fastest player in Suwon, starts running forward with all of his speed. The reporter talks about Dongyeon and says that the blood of a genius flows through his veins. At the same time, Dongguk kicks the bottom of the ball, making it spin clockwise, and then he shows his contempt by saying that anyone who cannot catch that kind of ball is trash. Dongyeon then prepares to take his shot, and since there is no good angle to aim for the goal, he decides to kick the ball straight at the goalkeeper's face. His powerful shot moves so fast and with so much force that it even breaks right through the net. The coach looks proud once again, saying that Dongyeon has amazing control over both the spin and the angle of the ball. Soon after, Sungo appears, and Dongyeon asks if he really is the top scorer of the national tournament. However, Dongyeon says things might have turned out differently if he had been in Korea at that time. Sungo shows his contempt by calling him Blondie, which makes Dongyeon angry, but before things can get worse, Jaeho reminds them that they came here to play soccer. Jinwoo then tells Yongji that this is what true genius looks like, explaining that no amount of practice can compete with natural-born talent. Meanwhile, people in the stands start talking about the different players, while the female reporter questions whether Shu really the skills has to be on Hamburg's team or if it is just because of his family connections. Inside Haja School's storage room, the green-haired guy grabs one student's leg like it is a toy and mocks him, asking if that is really all the strength he has. He then turns to another kid and demands to know how much money he is carrying. The kid yells back loudly, calling him names and refusing to hand over anything. Right then, the blue-haired guy steps in and threatens him, asking if he would rather listen to them or deal with the police instead. This green-haired thug is a 12th grader from Haja High School, and his name is Junyoung. One of the guys starts shaking nervously and admits that he only has 501 left. Hearing this, Junyoung gets angry and smacks him on the head. Watching all of this, Maru steps forward and says he will hand over his money if they untie him. Junyoung's face lights up with joy and he quickly unties Maru without hesitation. Maru then obediently gives him the money, which turns out to be 100,000 won, and Junyoung praises him, calling him a good kid. Maru pretends to be in a rush and tries to run out right away, but Junyoung stops him and says it is not fair to leave so soon. He tells Maru that instead of walking out, he should stay and beat up the other kids for them. Maru looks confused by the strange demand, while the black-haired thug smiles, thinking Junyoung is truly evil. Junyoung explains that if Maru ever reports being beaten, he will also tell the school that he borrowed money from him, which would only cause more trouble, so Maru has no choice but to beat the others. Maru starts sweating and refuses, saying he is fine and needs to get to the stadium right away, but Junyoung ignores him, grabs his hand, and forces it onto Jo-don's face while ordering his junior to record everything. Junyoung keeps pressing Maru's hand, telling him to hit harder instead of just brushing against them, and then he uses Maru's fist to punch Jo-don's chin and face again. In that moment, Maru remembers when Jo-don bullied him. Before, the guy had kicked him off chairs, beaten him badly and even stepped on him. Now Maru's own hand is being forced to strike the bully's face. After it ends, Maru rushes out, saying he is already late, and while running he asks his friend for the time. His friend checks the clock and replies that it is already 10:41. Hearing this, Maru slows down until he finally stops in place. His friend gets confused and asks why he stopped when he had been in such a big hurry only moments ago. Maru stays quiet, realizing with a sinking heart that the soccer match started at 10:30 and he is already too late. He drops to the ground and begins crying, blaming himself, saying it is all his fault, but deep down he just wanted the chance to play soccer. Suddenly, the sound of a motorcycle approaches, and it stops right in front of him. Maru lifts his head to see the rider taking off his helmet, showing familiar red hair. The rider quickly tells him to hop on, promising they can take a shortcut and reach the stadium in 30 minutes, and even if he already missed the first half, he still needs to be on the field for the second half. Meanwhile, a man rides his car down the road while his phone gives him directions, telling him to turn right and then go straight ahead. Behind him is a whole group of big motorcycles moving together, with one bike rushing forward at high speed while the others spread out to clear the way. On that front bike, Maru sits on the back of Jianu's motorcycle, holding on tightly as he wonders why Jianu is suddenly helping him. Jianu finally admits that at first he really hated Maru because he thought he only got eliminated from the team because of him. Jianu shares that he has played soccer his whole life but doesn't know how he ended up working instead. He never thought things would turn out this way. Before, he didn't give up but didn't try his best either. He didn't do anything because he didn't want to give up the sport he loves. When Maru appeared as a rookie and eliminated him, his self-esteem collapsed. Then he discovered his talent for cooking. Jianu remembers simple moments like buying food at markets, watching chefs cook, making meals by himself, and even enjoying the taste of his own cooking afterward. He thanks Maru and says that now he can let go of soccer without any regrets. The motorcycle turns to the right as Jianu keeps riding ahead with determination. Behind them, Maru's friend yells loudly, telling the red-haired rider to hurry and get Maru to the stadium no matter what. Police cars give chases with their sirens blaring, shouting for them to stop right away, but they refuse to slow down. At Suun School Stadium, 20 minutes into the first half, the score is already 3-0. Striker Dongguk makes a powerful long pass to Jaeho, who is tightly marked but still manages to slip past defenders with quick moves. Jaeho then passes across and runs into open space, easily leaving Sungo trailing behind. With perfect timing, Jaeho crosses the ball to Kim Dong-yeon, who rises high and heads it into the net for yet another goal. Haja School is now 3 goals behind, with 2 goals coming from Dongguk's dangerous plays. They must mark him tightly and drop their formation deep to defend against him. The coach calls Jaeho over, explaining that the other side has collapsed. He mentions that their goalkeeper is only a 10th grader playing his first real high school match. Haja School keeps attacking but Minyoung's passes cause trouble since he only looks for senior Jianu, who is tightly marked. Minjun starts to panic and Shu yells at him not to hesitate, telling him to pass to Shu if no one else is open. Their attacks keep failing because of Minjun's hesitation, which is why they are already 3 goals behind. Jaeho pats Sungo's shoulder and asks if that is all he has, saying he feels disappointed. Sungo stays silent as Jaeho walks away, calling him middle school level. Shu then shouts encouragement, telling the team it's okay and they should stick to their practice plan, even if they are losing by several goals. The referee blows the whistle and the match continues. Shu's team pushes forward, but midfielder Shin Yong-soo mocks them, asking if they should have just given up. Dongguk only smirks, looking confident. Shu passes to Maru's friend, who scans the field and sends the ball to Sungo. Seeing a defender right behind him, Sungo quickly returns it to Shu. Defensive midfielder steps up, saying he won't let Shu move so easily. A few days before the match, Shu and his team get together and talk about how they want to play. They make the plan that they will attack from both sides of the field instead of only going straight through the middle. The idea is that the defenders will pay more attention to the players on the sides, which will make the middle part less crowded and easier to use. Because of this, Shu, Maru, and Jianu stay close and work together in a special formation. Players who are good at breaking past defenders, like Yangji and Sungo, keep looking for chances to attack whenever they see an opening. At the same time, Shu, Jianu, and Maru always stay in the center area so the team does not lose control of the middle. When the team starts attacking, if one of the side players gets the ball, then the 4 players in the middle quickly run to the opposite side of the field. Doing this makes the defenders of the other team confused and they start to focus on the wrong players. While they are distracted and running to cover, Yangji on the other side moves fast into the empty space near Sungo. At that moment, Sungo has to make a choice. He can either pass the ball across to Yangji, who is ready to take a shot, or he can try to shoot the ball himself if he sees a good chance. Their skills are not as strong as the other team, so this strategy becomes very important if they want to win the match. The plan that Shu comes up with can only work for scoring when every player avoids mistakes. He also reminds the team that when the game reaches the most important moments, they must stick to the strategy they talked about and follow it exactly as it is. Jaeho runs toward the spot where Sungo is waiting, and this is the same play the team decided to use earlier. Sungo keeps his eyes on the game and focuses with all his effort. At the same time, Shu's whole team moves forward together in the formation they practiced, and every single player starts taking the position that was planned before. Afterward, Jaeho stands right in front of Sungo and blocks his way, then challenges him in a mocking way. He tells Sungo that he should prove his talent that made him the top scorer, or else admit defeat and back off like a scared turtle. Sungo acts like he does not hear Jaeho's words at all. He keeps dribbling the ball, trying hard to break through the defense, and then takes a shot before he can be completely surrounded, but the situation for him and his team still does not look very good. The pass goes too far. However, Sungo takes control, and just as Jaeho moves to block, Sungo quickly releases the ball. Jaeho is confused as Sungo pushes it back, then slips past him from behind. Shocked, Jaeho couldn't react. During the 40 minutes of the first half, the Haja team starts attacking really hard against the other team. Dongyeon runs fast toward Yangji, moving quickly across the soccer field. Shu calls out to Yangji and tells him to pass the ball right away so they can keep their attack going. When Dongyeon hears what Shu says, he pays much more attention and starts watching every move that Yangji makes. He thinks about using a special move that his family taught him, but then he realizes that Yangji is just trying to trick him with a fake move. Yangji shows good skills with the ball as he moves around Dongyeon and gets away from being surrounded by the other players. Shu starts to worry because he can see that there is a much safer way to pass the ball to someone else. Afterward, Yangji keeps controlling the ball really well as he continues to dribble. Shu shouts to him and says he should not try to do everything by himself because the other players are about to surround him. He tells Yangji to pass the ball to him quickly and then run to where there are no other players. Hyung-seep runs up from behind and tells everyone that he is there to help with the play. Yangji takes a deep breath and tries to stay calm and think clearly about what he should do next. Yangji dribbles the ball back and forth really well, and then suddenly stops moving completely. The players on the other team feel surprised by this move, which gives him a good chance to get away from all of them. Yangji starts dribbling again while Shu stays close to him to help. When Shu sees what Yangji is doing, he quickly tells him not to be dumb and push the ball forward too fast, which would make them lose their chance again. He says Yangji should pass the ball to the middle of the field. Yangji still has the ball when he meets Jinwoo again during the play. Jinwoo makes fun of him and asks what kind of move that is supposed to be, saying it is not impressive at all. But Yangji smiles in a cold way that shows he feels confident about what he is doing. Shu runs over quickly and tells Yangji to pass the ball right away. He explains that even if Yangji can get past one or two players, it does not matter if he cannot score a goal. But Yangji acts like he does not care about this advice and traps the ball between his feet, then kicks it high up in the air. This seems crazy because what comes next is a shot that curves through the air. Yangji runs after the ball as fast as he can. The ball rolls far away while Yangji chases it and feels happy inside. He thinks he has done something great and tells himself to get ready to celebrate. But before he can feel good for very long, Yuk Kong-chun suddenly gets in his way and blocks him. Jinwoo says with a mean voice that breaking through should help you score, not be the whole point of playing. He calls Yangji stupid and says he should trust his teammates more. The ball flies high through the air. Dong-guk gets ready to catch it, but Shu runs from behind to get in the way of where the ball is going. Shu takes the ball away from the other team. Just then, Maru shows up and gets to the game just in time for once. He tells everyone he is sorry that he came late to the match. Minjun looks really surprised and wonders why Maru is at the soccer field right now. However, Shu feels completely shocked when he sees that Maru is actually here. All the players start worrying about Maru and want to know what bad things happened to him and why his face looks so messed up. Yuna runs over to where Maru is standing because she feels really worried about him. She wants to look at the dark marks on his face and asks him what these bruises are and how he got hurt like this. But Maru moves her hand away and tells her that nothing is wrong with him. Shu watches Maru act like this and starts to feel very worried about his teammate. He wants to know if Maru can really play soccer when his body is hurt like this. Maru takes off his jacket quickly and says that everything is okay with him. He walks onto the soccer field and his heart starts beating really fast inside his chest. He thinks about what this excited feeling means and why he feels this way. All of a sudden Shu calls out and says that Minjun needs to move to where Sungo was playing while Maru will take over Minjun's old spot on the field. Minjun says he agrees with this plan but he does not really want to do it. The referee makes a loud whistle sound to tell everyone that the second half of the game is about to begin. All of a sudden someone yells at Minjun because the soccer ball is flying toward where he is standing. The ball comes flying at him and Minjun looks really angry about the whole situation. He thinks to himself that he has to prove to everyone that he is totally different from that new kid and that he will never let that guy get what he wants. Then he looks around the field trying to find Jinwoo somewhere. Shu yells at him and says he should stop waiting around and pass the ball to any teammate right away. But Minjun still feels really confused about what to do because he cannot see any of his teammates clearly and does not know which person he should pass the ball to. All of a sudden Maru runs over to help him and tells the senior player to pass the ball backwards to safety. Even though Minjun does not like this idea very much, He does what Maru says and tells him this is only going to happen one time. Maru helps Minjun get away from all the other team's players who are trying to surround him. Jaeho runs over to where Maru is and tells the younger player that he did a really good job helping the team. Maru keeps playing and passes the ball over to where Shu is waiting. Now that Maru is playing with the team, Shu does not feel as nervous as he did before. He tells Maru that he is doing a great job on the field. One of the Suwon players runs up behind Shu, so Shu passes the ball back to Maru again. Maru gets the ball right where his feet are positioned. Now that Maru is in the game, Jaeho starts to feel a little bit worried about what might happen. He sees that ever since this kid showed up, their team can control the ball much faster than before. He thinks that if things keep going this way, he will not be able to keep up with the pace. All of a sudden Maru takes a shot, which makes Jaeho feel surprised. He wonders why Maru shot the ball straight without moving it to a better position first. Right at that moment, Maru is able to figure out exactly where every single player is standing on the soccer field. Jaeho understands now that Maru is completely different from the person who was sitting outside the game. Sungo has finished taking a shower and is sitting down to rest his body. When Yuna looks at Sungo sitting there like this, she can only stay quiet and not say anything. The soccer match on the field keeps being very intense and exciting. Chattel suddenly stands up from where he was sitting and sees that something important is happening over on the field. Youngji thinks back to a conversation that happened between him and Maru on the soccer field just a few days ago. Maru asked him in a curious way why the senior player does not want to pass the ball to other people. When Maru asked him this question, Youngji did not say anything back to him. Maru kept talking and said that it clearly says in the training notebook that if someone can pass the ball smoothly to teammates, then dribbling to attack the goal becomes much easier to do. Youngji waited for a moment and then said that he feels this way because he is scared. Maru thinks about what Youngji wrote in the notebook about being afraid to pass the ball because he worries that once he gives the ball to someone else, no one will ever pass it back to him again. Afterward, everyone gets shocked to see Maru's shot and Maru takes the ball in his hands and walks away from where he scored, which makes all the Suwon team players feel surprised. He yells out loud that they can still win this soccer match against the other team. The goal that just happened seems to give fresh energy and hope to everyone on the Haja team. Even though Minjun does not want to admit it, he has to say that Maru looks really cool when he plays soccer like that. When Sungo sees what just happened, he also gets really excited and fired up about the game. He tells the new players that every single time he looks at them, he feels like he has lots of energy inside him. Then he looks at the other players and asks them where all the defense players are supposed to be. He wants to know if they are just going to let Maru keep fighting against the other team all by himself. He tells all of them to go and help Maru on the field and not be scared because he is there to help them spread their wings and fly as high as they can. Outside the soccer field, Chattel asks the coach some questions because he is curious about what the coach thinks. He wants to know how the coach feels when his team gets scored on by a young team like Haja that is not as experienced. The coach thinks about the question for a little while and then answers in a calm way that if the other team's defender can score a goal against them, then his team will respond by working at least twice as hard. After he finishes saying this, the coach does not wait for Chattel to finish talking and grabs his neck, which makes Chattel feel scared and panicked. Chattel says he was just making a joke, and the coach laughs and says he was also just joking around. After the Haja team's attack on the goal, the Suwon team knows they need to be much more careful about how they play. Jaeho uses all the strength he has to dribble the ball toward the Haja team's goal. When it comes to having energy and stamina, Minjun definitely cannot compete with how strong Jaeho is. Someone calls out and tells Maru's friend that he should not let Jaeho keep dribbling the ball forward like that. When Maru's friend hears this instruction, he runs over to try to block Jaeho's path, but Jaeho easily gets around both of the defenders and keeps dribbling the ball toward the goal. Afterward, Jaeho looks around the field trying to find someone he can pass the ball to while Dong-guk comes running from far away across the field. Jaeho makes the decision to pass the ball over to Dong-guk. Sungo is standing right there and it looks like he understands exactly what the other team is planning to do. Jaeho passes the ball right away to his teammate. The ball flies straight through the air and lands right at Dong-guk's feet, and Dong-guk feels confident as he shoots the ball straight toward the goal. The Haja team has to move quickly to block this shot because it is going directly at their goal. The ball flies through the air toward the goal, and everyone watching wants to know if the goalkeeper will be able to stop it this time. All of a sudden Sungo runs forward really fast and uses his face to block the path of the ball. The ball hits him right in the face and then bounces high up into the air. When Dong-guk sees what just happened, he says in a calm voice that getting hit like that must have really hurt Sungo. The ball is about to come back down and someone yells for the team to get it quickly before the other team does. The goalkeeper feels very worried about Sungo and asks if the senior player is okay after getting hit. However, Sungo's face shows dark bruises from where the ball hit him, and he turns around and says that if the ball has already flown past someone's face. The goalkeeper feels shocked when he looks at Sungo's injured face. 1 year earlier, everyone at the school begins making fun of Minyoung just because he wears ugly glasses, and the teasing soon becomes something he has to face every single day. Later, when he is at the dormitory, a group of students starts to beat him just for fun. After that they hit him even worse because they feel angry about the special treatment he sometimes gets. Minyoung suffers through it until he finally transfers to another school called Haja School, and that is the place where he first meets Yangji and Jianu. The two of them become his friends right away, and for the first time Minyoung feels hopeful, thinking that in this new school he will never have to experience bullying again. But ever since Shu and Maru show up, Minyoung's love for soccer slowly starts to fade because Jianu and Yangji begin to keep their distance from him. Back in the present game, Maru passes the ball forward and Minyoung runs quickly toward it, but Jaeho is right behind him, so Minyoung chooses to send the ball back to Maru instead. However, Maru passes the ball to him again right away, and this time Minyoung keeps running with it. When the other players try to block his path, he uses a reverse passing technique and sends the ball back to Maru. After that, Maru quickly passes the ball toward Shu, who is already waiting close to the goal net. Shu then jumps up and hits the ball with his head, sending it straight into the goal to score a point. Afterward, everyone is shocked when they see Maru passing the ball straight to Shu, who then scores a goal with it. Jaeho talks to Dongguk about Maru and explains that if they try to mark him too closely, he will just make return passes, but if they do not mark him, he will move the ball forward with passes instead. Jaeho adds that Maru always changes his style to match the players around him, and it is not that Maru himself is scary, but he has the special talent of adapting to every situation. Now that the score becomes 4 points for Suun and 3 points for Haja School, the Suun coach tells another player named John Gill that Maru is actually a very good player, which is why he is letting him go in and play. John Gill then enters the field and immediately tries to scare Maru, and at that moment Maru remembers how John Gill used to bully him badly in the past when he was still overweight. Right after that, John Gill suddenly punches Maru before quickly running off again to keep playing the game. The game begins with the ball moving toward Maru, but Jongpil suddenly elbows him hard and steals the ball away. Right after that, Jongpil purposely steps on Maru's leg and then runs off quickly to continue playing. When Chattel and Yuna see what just happened, they both get worried and ask the referee what he is doing, but the referee does not respond. Shu also gets very angry at Jongpil and shouts that he is cheating, but the other players hold Shu back so that he can calm down. Yuna starts crying as she watches, wondering why Jongpil keeps tormenting Maru again and again. Chattel explains that Jongpil is just trying to scare and intimidate Maru whenever the referee is not looking. After the game begins once more, Jongpil kicks Maru again and this time Maru falls down hard on the ground. However, Jianu finally loses his patience and slaps Jongpil for bullying Maru like that, but the referee notices this moment and sees Jianu's action. Afterward, all of the players begin to argue loudly with each other, but the referee suddenly shows a red card to Jianu, and Jianu is forced to leave the game. On the other side, the chairman gets furious at Suwon's coach and yells at him, asking if he secretly paid off the referee. The coach, looking annoyed, tells the chairman to go speak to the referee directly instead, so the chairman storms off and shouts angrily at the referee. Meanwhile, Maru quietly blames himself for what happened, thinking that Jianu only got kicked out because of him, and he feels that he will always remain a loser who gets bullied by others no matter what. Soon after, Jongpil tries to attack Maru again with another elbow strike, but Maru flinches out of fear, and the ball slips away and goes to the other players instead. Afterward, Shu scolds Maru harshly and asks him if he is even paying attention to the game. Now, Yangji gets ready for a corner kick, and all the players prepare themselves, but Maru is distracted once again as he keeps facing Jongpil, who stands behind him like a snake waiting to strike. Just as Yangji sends the ball flying with his kick, Jongpil sneaks in another punch from behind, but this time Maru endures the pain and immediately fights back by hitting Jongpil hard with an elbow strike. Right after that, Maru runs forward like a wild and unstoppable player, charging straight toward the ball. Instead of connecting with the ball, his face collides with Jinu's leg, but the ball bounces perfectly and goes straight into the goal, giving Maru the score. Afterward, everyone freezes in shock for a moment, stunned by what just happened. The players call for a medic, but even though Maru is bleeding heavily from his face, he simply walks off the field on his own and tells Yuna that they should go eat out together. Afterward, Maru suddenly faints because of his injuries, and Sungo quickly takes him to the hospital while Jinu is told to leave the field for what happened. In the meantime, Ojin steps in to take Maru's place, and the match keeps going without him. Shu gathers the team together and tells everyone that since they no longer have Jianu, they will switch their strategy and play in a 4-4-1 formation instead. When Suwon's coach sees this, he is amazed that Shu is able to think like a coach during the game, and the chairman proudly starts bragging that his son is truly amazing. Afterward, Suwon High School scores 3 more goals, and in the end Haja School loses the match with a final score of 7-4. Later, at the hospital where Maru is admitted, his parents yell at Shu and the others, blaming them for letting Maru end up in such a condition. After that, they all quietly go into Maru's room to check on him, and Maru looks at them and asks about how the game went. Nobody answers, and when he notices their silence, he quickly figures out that they must have lost, so he asks them about the soccer team and whether it is going to be disbanded. Shu lowers his head and apologizes for lying earlier, explaining that the team was never really going to be disbanded and that it was only a practice game. Hearing this, Maru suddenly smiles and says that he is happy as long as the soccer team is not being disbanded. Later that night, Yuna comes to visit Maru in the hospital and brings him a toothbrush so that he can finally brush his rotten teeth. After giving it to him, she leaves for a while to wash his uniform. Not long after, Jiho, Jinu, and Gojo arrive together, and they come to apologize to Maru for what happened before. The white-haired guy then speaks up and says that he wants to exchange uniforms with Maru, and after they switch uniforms, another visitor shows up. It turns out to be the goalkeeper from a representative team that was eliminated, and since he is also injured, he is staying on the bed right beside Maru. After Yuna leaves, the goalkeeper Jaeyoon looks at Maru and asks him if she is his girlfriend, but Maru acts awkward and quickly says that they are only friends. After that, Jaeyoon notices a jersey lying in the room and asks Maru if he plays soccer, but Maru explains that he has not been playing for very long, which makes Jaeyoon feel a little jealous. Suddenly, the green-haired guy from before knocks on the window, and he actually climbed all the way up just to meet Jaeyoon, who is his close friend. The guy brings along some chicken and drinks and Jaeyoon happily eats with him, but when they see Maru sitting there, the green-haired guy asks Maru to join them. Afterward, Jaeyoon and the green-haired guy start arguing about how he even managed to bring all this, and Jaeyoon gets upset, thinking that maybe he stole something. The green-haired guy then turns to Maru and says that Jaeyoon used to play soccer before, and back then he was such a big deal that he almost became part of the youth representative team. Meanwhile, another guy tells Shu that it is time for him to stop trying to be both a player and a coach, because he is busy acting like a coach. He also adds that Shu cannot see what is really happening on the field. The guy also tells Shu that what the team needs is a real coach, not just a midfielder who is pretending to take that role. The next day, Shu goes to visit his father in his office, and his father tells him that a new coach is going to take over the team. He also plans to disband the current team and hand everything over to that new coach. Later that day, the new coach arrives and treats Shu like any normal player instead of chairman's son. Earlier, Siwon School's coach walks up to the chairman and makes fun of him for losing the match against his team, speaking in a mocking way. He reminds the chairman of the promise and tells him to get on his knees, but the chairman refuses and says it is not fair because Siwon cheated during the game. Since the chairman does not follow through with what they agreed on, the coach says he will let him off only if he does him a favor. The coach explains that the favor he wants is to become the coach of Haja's soccer team, but the chairman keeps asking why he would want something like that. The coach then replies that his reason is because he wants to save the team from falling apart and going downhill. Even so, the chairman insists that he still wants to disband the team, but the coach continues to beg him not to do it, saying that the team has many talented players who deserve a chance. However, the chairman finally agrees to let him become the coach. Back in the present, Siwon's coach stands in front of everyone and says that he will first check their basic specs, and then he introduces himself by the name Hakchil. Later on, he begins the team's training session by making all of them start running, and among everyone, Yangji shows that he is the fastest runner on the team. After that, the next exercise is the yo-yo test, which is a drill that checks how many 20-meter round trips each player is able to complete without stopping. The training begins, and before long everyone starts losing their breath after just a few stages, but they keep pushing themselves until evening comes, and by then they have reached stage 47. Shu manages to gather the most points out of all the players, showing his stamina and focus. After the drill ends, the coach tells everyone that there will no longer be any upperclassmen nonsense allowed in the team, and from now on they are not allowed to sit and eat with their friends during meals. He finishes by adding that their new goal is to move forward all the way to the nationals. Afterward, the coach tells someone to start gathering data on each player's home environment, but just then another player comes over and asks him why he decided to coach this team. The coach explains that everything he accomplished at Suwon School felt invisible because the players there were always too focused on finding their own way, no matter how hard he tried to guide them, and no one would listen to him. He also says that he thinks Suun is just a place where upperclassmen players stop by for a while to play and then leave, like it is only a passageway. That is why he has decided to move to this team, the one where he feels he can make the most difference and actually benefit the players. 2 weeks later, Maru finally recovers from his injuries and is discharged from the hospital. Before leaving the hospital, the nurse gives Maru a handkerchief that Yuna made for him so that his arms won't hurt as much while using the crutches. Meanwhile, behind the school, the green-haired guy from before shows Jaehyun a video that captures Maru hitting other boys and tells him that they should release it. He explains that sharing the video would stop Maru's team from competing in the finals, and that way he can get his revenge on Shu. However, Jaehyun tells him that he needs some time to think about it before making any decisions, and then he heads back to the hospital. When he returns, the nurse tells him that his grandmother has come to visit him. Jaehyun gets angry as why does she keep coming in storms in the room but finds Maru eating fruits with his grandmother. Later that night, Maru packs his stuff and leaves some drinks and fruits for Jaehyun, but then Jaehyun wakes up and gives him his national uniform. Later that night, Maru cannot sleep properly and he turns to Jaehyun, asking him why he doesn't play soccer anymore. Jaehyun replies that he isn't very good at it and he goes on to explain that he can't afford to play soccer right now because he doesn't have any money to pay for his grandmother's surgery. Maru listens but stays silent, unable to fully understand what Jaehyun is going through. The next day, Yuna comes to visit to celebrate Maru being discharged from the hospital, and both the nurse and Jaehyun encourage him to work hard and focus on soccer. While they are on their way, Maru's mind drifts to thoughts about confessing his feelings to Yuna but he feels too scared. Yuna then asks Maru if he wants to go eat something and Maru quickly agrees, saying yes without hesitation. After that, they arrive at a strange place where they are served a very strong and potent type of soup, but neither of them ends up eating it and they decide to go to McDonald's instead. They spend the entire day together, visiting different places and enjoying each other's company, and by the end of the day, Yuna gives Maru a new uniform that has a turtle engraved on it. The next day, Maru meets up with his friends, and they explain that they couldn't come to the hospital earlier because there were too many scary guys hanging around. Later on, Maru continues his training, doing running drills and the yo-yo test, and he manages to achieve a very good score. After being all sweaty, Maru orders Shu to get him a towel which makes him angry and he almost smacked Maru's cheeks. The next day, everyone starts their training as usual but Chattel shows the coach the profiles of the players who had quit the team before. The coach explains that he still needs to find a goalkeeper and one more strong player and as he looks through the list, he finds someone suitable. Meanwhile, during practice, Jianu accidentally throws the ball over the fence and Maru quickly runs to get it. But on the way he runs into Sungo, who is smoking with another friend. Maru quickly backs away, thinking that there are people who would do anything to be on this team and here he is just wasting time smoking. At the same time, Jaehyun is working as a delivery rider for a restaurant when he suddenly receives a delivery order that is meant for Haja school. Meanwhile, Shu and the others are celebrating the return of their coach, and everyone is enjoying themselves at a small party they hold together. Just then, Jaehyun arrives carrying the food for the team, but he is wearing a helmet to hide his identity so no one would recognize him. However, Shu immediately recognizes him through the helmet because he notices Jaehyun's neck tattoo. Jaehyun gets angry at being recognized and pushes Shu against the wall but Shu asks him to come back to their team. Instead of listening, Jaehyun yells angrily, saying that Shu ruined his career and now he doesn't want to come back at all. Afterward, Jaehyun grabs his things and leaves, walking away without saying anything else and soon after, Maru arrives and wonders what Shu is doing outside at that moment. Not long after, the coach arrives as well, and everyone sits down together to eat, but Shu quickly tells the coach that the rule requiring them to speak informally to one another feels unfair. Later on, Shu loses his patience completely and starts speaking informally to the coach which makes the coach visibly angry. Meanwhile, Jaehyun returns home to find his grandmother sitting in front of the TV, watching his old soccer matches. As soon as he sees this, he quickly turns off the TV and hands her some chocolate bread to eat. While looking around, Jaehyun notices an ankle strap on the table and realizes that his grandmother had bought it for him. She then begins flipping through his old pictures and tells him that she does not have much time left, so she wants to spend it looking at him and remembering the past. Hearing this, Jaehyun shouts at her, telling her not to bring up his past, insisting that he has quit soccer and that it was never her fault. Afterward, Jaehyun steps out of his apartment and is surprised to find Shu standing right in front of him. Shu asks Jaehyun if the reason he stopped playing soccer is because of money, and he tells him that they can handle it together since this national competition is different from everything else. Suddenly, Jaehyun punches Shu and shouts angrily that he has had enough soccer and does not want to play anymore. After that, Shu walks back to the soccer building, where the coach immediately asks him how it went, but Shu shakes his head and says that it actually got worse. The coach then asks why Jaehyun left the soccer team, and Shu explains that Jaehyun had been at Seonmyeong School before, where he was the most talented player and had even won the Best Keeper award for his exceptional skills. However, when he went to high school, he received offers from many prestigious schools, but in the end, he decided to follow his coach. The coach supported him financially, but the money didn't come from his own pocket but from the player's parents that he extorted from. Soon, Shu beat up Jaehyun's coach because he was harassing too many students. Later that night, Maru and Yuna come to meet Jaehyun, and while they talk, Maru explains that he and Yuna both go to Haja school. He keeps talking and tells Jaehyun that their soccer team almost wins a game against Suun High School, which makes Jaehyun very surprised. Jaehyun wonders how Haja is even able to score 4 goals in one match, because back when he was part of that team, they could not even score foul goals for the whole year. Maru then tells him that the coach from Suwon High School is now training their team, and he believes that with this coach helping them, the team will keep getting better. But Jaehyun asks Maru how many of the players he really thinks will be able to move on and become professional soccer players in the future. He explains that starting from middle school about 10% of the players end up quitting, and after that the number just keeps going up more as the years pass by. He also points out that the chance of making it onto the national team is less than 0.005%, which is almost impossible. Because of this, he believes that everyone on the team is basically putting all of their hopes and dreams into a future that is very uncertain and not guaranteed. The next day, all of the players gather on the field, but it is only the first and second year students who show up, since the third year are busy with their mock exams. Afterward, the practice game begins, and during the match, Sungo takes the ball and starts running forward, but the coach thinks that Sungo still does not have enough fighting spirit. Afterward, Maru quickly runs behind Sungo to steal the ball, but Sungo gets frustrated and tries to turn around. Maru quickly slides in and steals the ball, but Sungo falls. Maru tries to help him but says that everyone is putting their life into this game, so he should as well, and then he leaves. After that, the match keeps going, and during the game Sungo keeps asking Maru what his problem is and why he is acting so worked up and freaking out over nothing. All of a sudden, Maru loses his patience, and he shouts back that Sungo calls himself a soccer player even though he smokes cigarettes. Maru further adds that even though he is still just a new player on the team, he was able to steal the ball away from Sungo. He also says that staying on the team will just end up being a waste of time for him. Hearing those words makes Sungo furious, but Maru says that all Sungo does is sit around smoking while the rest of the team is struggling hard to deal with real problems. After that moment, Sungo suddenly punches Maru, and the two of them start fighting each other right in the middle of the field until people come to stop them. Because of this, both of them receive a 1-week ban from soccer training, but the coach calls Sungo over to talk with him alone in private. During their talk, the coach explains that just last year he had even told another coach that he wanted to bring Sungo onto his own team, so he asks him directly why he is not putting in the effort or even trying to play seriously anymore. Later that night, Sungo goes back home, and when he enters the house, there are some guests sitting in the living room, and they immediately start praising Sungo with kind words and compliments. Just then, his dad calls him a useless who just goes to a school like Haja and wastes his time on soccer. Everyone then starts appreciating Sungo's brother Miho, who is supposed to be a future doctor. Sungo recalls a time when he told his parents about how athletic he is in school. But his father tells him that it doesn't matter how fast he is, but if he can't get in Olympics it's useless. Sungo feels frustrated because he keeps hearing the same discouraging words from his father every single day, and deep inside he really wants to prove himself. Not long after, he joins the national running competition, and when he manages to take 3rd place, he feels extremely happy and proud of what he has achieved, but his father does not feel the same way at all. When Sungo returns home with excitement, his father picks up the phone and calls someone, saying that Sungo is only doing all of this as a simple hobby and that there is nothing worth congratulating about. Back in the present time, Sungo sits around bored at home, so he decides to go outside and find something to enjoy for the day, but then Maru shows up and asks him if they should play some one-on-one together. Afterward, the two of them walk side by side, and during the walk, Maru asks if they should place a bet on the game, then says that whoever wins will get 1 wish granted. Soon, they arrive at the public park and Maru explains the rules of their game, saying that if a player manages to get the ball through the other person's legs, then that counts as 1 point. He also adds another rule, saying that if someone is able to knock down the water bottle with the ball, that also counts as a point, and the first one to reach 5 points will be the winner. Right after the rules are set, Sungo gets the ball and quickly runs straight toward the water bottle, but Maru suddenly steps in front of him to block the way. However, Sungo pushes forward with confidence and sends the ball right through Maru's legs, earning the very first point of the match. As the second round begins, Sungo looks at Maru and tells him that his wish is going to be making things work out between him and Yuna. However, Maru takes the ball and dashes forward with speed, and this time he manages to pass through Sungo and scores a point. After that, the match keeps going and both of them end up with the same score. They agree that as soon as the clock hits 4, they will both go for the ball at the same time. When the moment arrives, they rush toward it with all their energy. At first, Sungo manages to swing his foot and touch the ball, but Maru reacts quickly, dodges past his leg. With the ball now at his feet, Maru dribbles closer to the target and then gives the ball a push. Right at the very last second, Sungo throws himself forward and blocks it. After that, Maru yells out that if Sungo's body touches the water bottle then the game should be counted as over, but somehow Sungo manages to stop himself at the very last moment. Maru, not holding back, suddenly starts making fun of him by teasing him about his small joystick, which makes Sungo furious and ready to snap. Afterward, Sungo charges toward the ball with all his strength, quickly takes control and scores the goal. Just as the game finishes, a group of mysterious people appear on the field, and they are revealed to be Susuipa, a local amateur soccer team. They look at Maru and Sungo and demand to know who gave them permission to use this ground, since they had already reserved the field beforehand. After hearing this, Maru and Sungo quickly decide that it is best to leave right away, but before they can go, one of the Susuipa players turns to their leader and says that he recognizes Sungo as the top national player from the middle school division. Afterward, they ask Sungo and Maru that in exchange for using their stadium, they want their help. However, Maru and Sungo quickly agree to play with them, but when the other team arrives, they freak out. The other team is Samseonpa, and among the players, Jaeyoon is one of them. When Maru sees him, he is shocked because he thought Jaeyoon said he didn't play soccer, but Jaeyoon explains that he only plays it as a hobby. However, the green-haired guy is also there, and instead of causing trouble or beating up Maru like last time, he hands Maru back his money. Maru then explains that their team asked them to help, so that is why they are playing alongside them for the match. After that, everyone lines up together on the field before the game starts, and Sungo tells Maru that he knows Maru didn't even try his best at the very end of their previous match. The game finally begins and both teams are playing 6 against 6, running back and forth across the field with energy. Sungo gets the ball first and starts dribbling quickly down the field, trying to find a way to get closer to the goal. On the other hand, Maru is also sprinting forward and calls out, asking Sungo to pass the ball to him. Sungo ignores him and keeps moving, and at that moment, the green-haired guy named Junyoung suddenly pushes Sungo aside with his shoulder and manages to steal the ball. The referee watches but does not call a foul because Junyoung only used his shoulder and did not touch Sungo with his hands. Seeing this, Maru immediately starts running toward Junyoung, who has just taken control of the ball, determined to challenge him and get it back. In just a second, Junyoung pushes Maru away using his shoulders just like he did with Sungo. Afterwards, he reaches the goalkeeper and shoots the ball, but it misses and the ball goes away. Afterward, Maru gets the ball and he gets close to the goalkeeper, who is none other than Jaeyoon. Maru quickly passes the ball to Sungo, who tries to score a goal, but Junyoung again pushes him and steals the ball. Meanwhile, Chaddle, Yuna, and the coach of the Haja team are secretly watching the match from behind the bushes. Chaddle tells the coach that since he banned Maru and Sungo from training, they came here to play instead, and even Sungo is playing like a professional. The coach, however, looks completely stunned when he notices that Jaeyoon is also out there on the field, playing with the others. Back in the game, Sungo has the ball and tries to push forward, but Junyoung quickly moves into his path and blocks him. Sungo looks around and realizes that players have surrounded him from every side, so he passes the ball to Maru. Maru tries to advance but also gets blocked by defenders, so he makes a quick decision and passes the ball off to one of his teammates instead. The teammate quickly runs down the field and passes the ball back to Sungo again, but after some back and forth play, the ball eventually ends up with Maru. However, Maru hesitates for a moment, and right then Junyoung suddenly appears and kicks the ball away, sending it straight to the goalkeeper. Watching this, the coach and Chaddle both realize that Junyoung is actually very skilled at the game, even though he usually looks like nothing more than a brainless cow. The match continues, and once again Junyoung uses his shoulder to push Sungo aside before moving forward aggressively. He then pushes Maru as well and manages to score a clean goal for his team. Frustrated, Sungo turns to Maru and says that he is not going to play anymore, but Maru immediately argues back that Sungo is only trying to make excuses. Since there are no substitutes available, Sungo has no choice but to stay on the field and keep playing with the rest of the team. After that, the game starts again, but Sungo just stands still on the field as he wonders why Maru is trying so hard in this match. He thinks to himself that if they were playing on a normal-sized field, they could have easily stopped Jeonying by using their speed and better positioning. As he stands there, his thoughts drift back to his father, who always criticized him no matter what he did. Just then, Maru passes the ball to Sungo, but he does nothing because deep inside his head he keeps thinking of himself as a loser. At that moment, Jeonying pushes Sungo aside as he tries to steal the ball, but finally Sungo swings his leg and manages to hit the ball across the field where it reaches Maru. However, Maru quickly runs down the field straight toward the goalkeeper, but instead of taking the shot, Maru suddenly passes the ball back to a teammate who was rushing in right behind him. The teammate takes the shot, but Jaehyun reacts fast and manages to block it, leaving everyone surprised. Watching from the bushes, Chattel and the coach both get excited because they always wanted a chance to put Jaehyun on their team, and now they see his real ability. Just then, Sungo appears out of nowhere and kicks the ball again, but the shot bounces off the ground. Right after this play, the coach and the others finally step out from the bushes and confront Maru and Sungo for secretly playing here even though they were banned from training. The coach then tells Maru and Sungo to go back, while at the same time asking Jaehyun and Jeonying to stay behind and talk to him in private. Jeonying tells Jaehyun that he will go along with whatever choice he makes, so he thinks Jaehyun should be the one to go instead of him. After that, everyone gathers in the parking lot and the coach announces that only Jaehyun and Sungo are going to ride with him in his car while the rest will not. Meanwhile, Yuna and Maru start walking home, but they decide to change their clothes first, so Maru tells her to use an old girl's washroom while he goes to change on the back street. While they are changing, Yuna says to Maru that he is really good at soccer. And at that moment Maru gathers his courage and tells her that she looks pretty. Suddenly, Yuna screams and Maru rushes inside, but it turns out that she is only scared because of a bug. Maru quickly takes care of the bug, and right after that, Yuna hugs him very tightly, which makes Maru feel as if he has entered heaven. At the same time, the coach drives Sungo and Jaehyun to Siwon Stadium, where he tells them to join a match with the professional players so they can gain some advice and learn from the experience. The coach also points out two players who are already close to being millionaires, and even though those players are very skilled at defense. The coach believes that Sungo and Jaehyun should be able to break through their defense without much trouble. Afterward, the coach hands them some money and tells them to look around the area for a while and then head back home since he is going to leave now. Jaehyun suddenly stops him and asks why he is even saying all this to him when he has never actually seen him play before. The coach answers that he has already watched him back in middle school when he was playing under a different coach, and he also adds that he has seen some of his games online. Then Sungo asks if beating the defender down there would give him a chance to go to Europe. However, the coach explains that the guy is a strong defender, and if Sungo really believes he can break through his defense, then he will think about giving him that opportunity. After the coach leaves, the players on the field notice Sungo and ask who the person with him is, but after taking a closer look they realize he showed up at the opening ceremony but later disappeared. All of a sudden, the white-haired Gojo from earlier also arrives, and when he hears that they are from Haja school, he immediately asks them about Maru. Sungo then turns to Jaeho and says that he heard he is going to join Leverkusen. After that he asks how much they are paying him and whether or not his parents had any problems with his decision. Jaeho answers that his parents are actually proud of him, and hearing that makes Sungo feel sad inside. Just then, their goalkeeper Huyang also arrives and starts taunting Jaehyun. Jaeho tells Jaehyun to come down and they should have a match to see who's a better goalkeeper. However, Jaehyun decides to leave, but Sungo tells him to test his skills with them and he agrees. Jaeho tells them that he wants to set up a free kick challenge where they will each take turns trying to block the ball, with everyone getting 5 chances to kick. However, Sungo refuses to go along with that plan and instead says that he wants to compete directly with him, which ends up making it so that Sungo and Jaehyun form one team while Jaeho and Huyang become the other team. They all agree on the rules, deciding that each player must kick from outside the penalty box and they will take turns, and whichever team scores the most goals out of 5 kicks will be the winner. After the rules are set, Jaehyun steps back into his goalkeeper position, and it feels strange and almost unreal for him to return to the field again after being away from it for such a long time. Meanwhile, Jaeho gets into position to take his shot, and when he finally kicks the ball, it flies straight toward Jaehyun with incredible speed. Jaehyun freezes for a moment because he can clearly see how fast the ball is moving, shaking in a strange way as it comes closer. He quickly thinks the ball is heading to the left side, so he moves that way, but at the last moment the ball suddenly changes direction and shoots into the right side of the goal, scoring a point. After that, Woo-young explains to Jae-yoon that the shot he just saw was a non-rotational shot, where a vortex forms behind the ball since it doesn't spin, which makes the ball wobble and move irregularly in the air. He also tells him that blocking a shot like that is very hard, especially for someone who has no experience with it before. Afterward, it becomes Sunggo's turn to take his shot while Woo-young gets ready to defend the goal and Sunggo fires the ball high through the top corner. He thinks that it is going to work, but at the very last second, Woo-young stretches out and manages to block it. After that, Jae-ho keeps taking his non-rotational shots, but except for the very first one he made earlier, none of the other shots end up going into the goal. On the other side, Sunggo keeps aiming for the exact same spot over and over again, but Woo-young continues to block his attempts without letting the ball slip through. Soon, it becomes Jaehyun's turn to step in as the goalkeeper, and he starts to wonder to himself if he will really be able to block the ball in case it actually manages to fly straight into the goal. Then it comes time for Jae-ho's fifth shot, and just like before, he kicks it hard, sending the ball spinning and shaking wildly through the air. Seeing the ball move like that, Jae-hyun wonders why it is shaking so strangely and even questions why he is standing there trying to block a ball kicked by someone who doesn't really matter to him. His thoughts then drift to his grandma, who always believed in him and told him that he could one day become a soccer legend. Right after that, he also remembers everyone else who has shown faith in him. With those thoughts in his heart, Jae-hyun manages to go along with the ball's movement and ends up blocking it, which shocks everyone watching because they did not expect him to stop the shot. After that moment, it becomes Sunggo's turn to kick, and he realizes that this is his last chance to finally prove himself, so he begins to wonder in his head how he should strike the ball this time. But then Jae-hyun tells him to just kick it in a casual way. Sunggo loves soccer and always gives everything he has whenever he plays, but now that he has started high school, he begins to worry that his skills might have changed. In the past, he always played with confidence, never looked back with regret, and never once felt the heavy stress of failing at something he loved. As these memories rush through his head, Sunggo tells himself that he doesn't need to care about complicated strategies, and instead he just needs to play the way he always has. With that thought, Sunggo sprints toward the ball as fast as he can and kicks it with all the strength and passion inside him. The ball shoots away, and in that moment Sunggo feels like his old self again, filled with the same passion he once had. The ball goes straight towards the goal net with a curve, and Sunggo manages to score a point. Sunggo can hardly believe what he just saw happen, but at the same time he feels overjoyed inside. Jae-yoon, who is standing close by and watching, thinks to himself that the final shot Sunggo made was truly amazing. As Sunggo starts walking away, someone calls out after him, saying that he cannot just leave like that because nothing has been fully decided yet. Jae-yoon then walks up beside Sunggo with a small smile on his face, and the two people behind them stay quiet, simply watching as the pair leaves together without another word. While they walk side by side, Sunggo suddenly says that he wants to practice shooting knuckleballs and asks Jae-yoon if he can be the goalkeeper for him. Jae-yoon looks at him and asks if he really means doing it right now, and Sunggo quickly answers yes, but then pauses as he remembers something and asks Jae-yoon what is wrong. Jae-yoon explains that he accidentally took Woo-young's gloves by mistake. Just then, someone kicks the ball out, and a hand quickly reaches in to grab it. Sunggo feels worn out from everything that happened, yet inside he is still filled with happiness. Jae-yoon wakes up suddenly because it was just a bad dream, and his phone keeps beeping and he turns off his phone. At the work center, Jae-yoon taps the shoulder of his green-haired friend and asks if he got home safely yesterday. However, the guy asks what the coach said, and Jae-yoon admits the coach wants him to play soccer again. His friend says he should go and that he will join too. The next day, Maru and his friends are walking along the road, and the heat makes it even harder to keep going. When they reach the soccer field, everyone gathers together to start practice, and the focus of the day is on working with the defensive formation. During the drill, Junyoung notices Min-young hesitating with the ball and not knowing who he should pass to. So he quickly warns him to handle those situations faster because he is wasting too much time standing there. To make his point clear, Junyoung charges his shoulder hard into Min-young and knocks him back. Afterward, Min-young falls down hard on the ground, and Junyoung quickly steals the ball while saying that if Min-young cannot handle contact like that, then he needs to make his decisions faster instead of wasting time. Maru rushes over right away and helps Min-young back to his feet, and Min-young, still panicking, asks in a shaky voice what is going on and where Junyoung suddenly appeared from. Maru warns him that Junyoung is very strong, so it is better not to provoke him or make him angry. A moment later, Junyoung yells at one of his teammates who is not paying attention and demands to know what he is doing, then orders him to run faster and stop slacking off. On the sideline, the coach watches everything with interest, and he starts laughing loudly, which makes the assistant ask what could be so funny. Soon both of them begin laughing together while joking back and forth, and in the middle of the laughter, the coach says he is imagining their team winning the championship. The assistant replies that the coach is being funny, but the coach insists with a grin that he is serious about it. Right then, someone on the field shouts that the ball is about to go out and tells everyone to hurry up and get it before it leaves the line. Quick feet stop the ball as Sungo slides across the grass and manages to save it just in time. Maru waves with energy and calls for Sungo, but an opponent blocks him, so he signals Minjun while staggering and searching for a chance. In the end, he falls to the ground still reaching out and shouting for Minjun to pass, and the coach sighs helplessly, saying it is because Maru keeps jumping around like a monkey in the hot weather. Maru sits resting outside the field with an ice pack on his head. Coach Hong calls for Maru and resorts to tapping his head while instructing him. He tells Maru that jumping around like that just wastes energy and that he should use his head instead. Afterward, a broadcasting club's announcer Minjong approaches Maru and asks for an interview, but Maru tells her that they will do it later. 1 week later, Chattel shows the group preliminaries in which their team is in the same group as Suun. Afterward, everyone gathers together on the field and Jianu explains that since this game is between Siwon High School and Myeongwon, a lot of people have come to watch today because it is such a big match. Maru says that he already knows about Suwon, but he asks if the other team is also well known or not. Junying explains that of course Myeongwon is really famous too, and this is actually the group stage match that decides which teams will move on to the next round. He says that both of these teams are the strongest in their group, and each of them has even won national championships before, which makes them very respected. He also adds that just like Suwon, Myeongwon is also a youth soccer club located in Siwon, which is why so many people are paying attention to this game. Because of that, a huge crowd has gathered, including scouts, reporters, and even a lot of parents who are here to support and watch. However, Maru asks if those people will be watching their match as well, and then he admits that he feels really nervous about it. Afterward, the whistle blows to signal the end of the match after 2 tough halves, and when people see the result, they can tell right away that the game was very tense from start to finish. The match closes with Suwon High School taking the win by only a 1-goal margin, which shows how close the fight really was. The players from Haja School soccer team stare at the defeated side who are breathing hard and struggling to catch their breath, and one member quietly says in a serious tone that this could be a warning or an omen for them as well. Chonghan Myong, who is a 12th grade attacking midfielder from Myeongwon High School, stands out on the field, and Minyong keeps watching that midfielder silently for a moment. But then Minyong suddenly turns away and quickly leaves because he does not dare to think any deeper about it. As soon as the match between Suwon and Myeongwon ends, the crowd quickly leaves and the seats in the stands become completely empty, which makes Maru feel a little disappointed inside because he hoped more people would stay. Sungo notices him standing there in a daze and calls out, telling him to hurry and come over since it is already time for them to warm up before their own match. Up in the reporters section, one reporter stands up from his seat and casually suggests to the person next to him that they should go out and find something to eat. The other reporter looks at him and asks if he really does not plan on watching the next match between Haja School and Wonsang School since it is just about to start. The first reporter replies bluntly that he would not waste his time on a game that already has a set outcome, and he adds that Wonsang is definitely going to win again without question. The second reporter tries to convince him to stay and says that he heard Haja has a player who is part of the national youth team, and he also mentions that Coach Hong is no pushover and should not be underestimated. But the first person said he heard Wonsang is a very strong team. The other person agrees and says he also heard they have an excellent player whose name is Yoonsu. That is also why some scouts came here to observe. Afterward, Yoonsu, who has the ball, and he quickly passes the ball and Maru and Yangji run quickly to get it. However, Yoonsu runs towards it out of nowhere and steals the ball while Yangji grabs his clothes. Just as he gets closer to the goalkeeper, Junying arrives like a buffalo and tries to hit him with his shoulder. In the end, the referee fouls Junying and the other team gets penalty kick. Meanwhile, a few players from Myeongwon School talk among themselves and say that the referee believes Junying pushed from behind, which they think is really unlucky. When Haja's number 3 loses his position, one of them carefully explains the tactical situation that just happened on the field. He says that when Yoonsu pressed Yangji, Junying moved right away to follow up on Yoonsu's play, and then number 8 instantly rushed over to cover the open space with surprising speed. Right after that, Chonghan confirms what they are all seeing, saying that Junying is truly a real sweeper who knows exactly how to play his role. After saying this, the player turns back and suddenly asks the other guy what he thinks about it, since Kangtae plays a similar role on the field. However, he looks a little flustered by the unexpected question and stammers nervously, only managing to say that the player seems to play really well. Hearing his answer, Chonghan and Rojun burst into laughter and tease him, saying he is just being polite. On the other side, people are also guessing that Yunsu will be the one to take the penalty kick, because they know that greedy guy always tries hard to fight for penalties no matter what. Two of their friends agree with that thought and start wondering if Yunsu is really going to kick this one, so they watch closely as the penalty taker steps forward and places the ball carefully in position. But then, it turns out the kicker is not Yunsu at all, and everyone in the stands feels shocked and confused, whispering about who number 8 is and why Yunsu suddenly let him take the chance. That player is Seoncheol, and when someone in the stands recognizes him, they quickly say his name and mention that Seoncheol is the one who will be taking the kick. The person explains that they actually went to middle school with Seoncheol and mentions that he is 2 years younger than them. When someone asks if Seoncheol can really score this penalty, the person lets out a small snort and says that it is hard to say for sure. One of the friends then turns to Huyong and asks if he believes Jaehyun will be able to save the penalty kick, but Huyong stays completely silent and chooses not to give any kind of prediction. On the field, Seoncheol stands in front of Jaehyun's goal. The players from both teams wait just outside the penalty area, ready to rush in and react the moment something happens. Seoncheol feels his nervousness rising so much that the goal starts looking strange in his eyes, and he suddenly wonders why it seems so small compared to before. Seoncheol usually watches closely to see which side the goalkeeper leans toward before he takes his shot. Chattel, who is standing outside the field, notices this right away and says in a worried tone that this could be real trouble. He explains that Seoncheol is trying to use the fake shot technique, where he first checks the keeper's leaning direction before actually kicking, and this makes it very hard to know which side to dive for. Chattel adds that if this happened during open play in the match, it would already be too late to make a proper decision. On the field, Jaehyun keeps an unreadable expression on his face, though the corner of his mouth is slightly curled up, as if he knows something. At the same time, Huyong's group watches everything because they all know that Jaehyun always waits until the exact right moment before finally diving for the ball. After that, the ball gets passed to Yongji, and he uses the inside of his foot to control the ball in a gentle way. The ball is now sitting at Yongji's feet, but the player defending him has also caught up and is close to him now. The player from the other team thinks he has heard that this number 11 player has good skills but almost never passes the ball to anyone else. He thinks Yongji will for sure try to dribble the ball forward by himself. But Yongji surprises everyone by passing the ball to Jang Hyun-seop, who is standing in an open spot where no one from the other team is watching him. Hyun-seop sees this is a great chance and runs forward to get Yongji's pass, then he starts dribbling the ball toward the goal. He looks around quickly to find Sungo on the field, but Hyun-seop kicks a long pass that travels far across the field. Sungo starts running forward as fast as he can go. This is a long pass that goes high in the air from Jang Hyun-seop to Sungo. Every step that Sungo takes while running looks super fast, like he is moving as quick as lightning. This is a long pass to Sungo, who is on the left side of the field. Sungo runs faster than the opponent behind him, and that opponent quietly says bad words about Sungo. He wonders how Sungo can be so fast and then remembers that this is the player who used to score the most goals. Afterward, the ball flies up in the air and into the area near the goal, but it looks like no one from their team is there to get it. The ball floats in the air when Jianu suddenly shows up, appearing right in front of the goalkeeper like magic. Both players jump up at the same time. The ball becomes the only thing that matters between these two players, and time feels like it stops as everyone wonders who will touch the ball first. What happens is that Jianu's head touches the ball first, faster than the goalkeeper's hands can reach it. Jianu heads the ball with a lot of power while the goalkeeper can only give up trying to stop it. The ball hits the area that is 5.5 meters away from the goal, making a perfect right angle and tearing through the net to score the first goal. At that moment, everyone waits for one thing to be decided, whether this is a goal or a foul. However, the referee decides to count it as a goal and they score a point. All the teammates run over to celebrate with Jianu. He still stands in the same spot looking shocked, not able to believe they scored the first goal and really did it after trying for 3 years and 12 games. The night before this game, in the team's locker room, all the Haja team players lean against the wall looking worried and scared. Coach Hong walks over and asks why they all look so sad. Coach Hong looks around at everyone and then smiles before asking if they are worried because tomorrow is their first match. Sungo answers in a calm way that he is not worried at all. Maru says with confusion that everyone should look at how tense everyone feels. Coach Hong just smiles in a kind way. Then he starts to make them feel better and tells them about their game plan. He tells them that now everything depends on what they do and they should just play like they always do in practice. If they see an opening, they should take the chance. If they see a teammate in a better spot, they should pass to them. What they need to do is stay one step ahead of the other team. Ianu jumps up really high like a wild animal and hits the ball with his head, sending it straight to Sungo's feet on the ground. The ball rolls close to the right goalpost area where Sungo starts dribbling it forward while the goalkeeper runs out from his goal to try to get the ball. But Sungo tricks the goalkeeper with a fake move and gets past him, then he passes the ball across the field to Yangji. Yangji takes the shot right away without waiting, and the ball goes into the goal successfully. All the players run over to Yangji to celebrate together after the goal. Haja High School keeps winning games by beating C1 High School and Sanji High School with scores of 1-0 and 3-1. In the tournament rules, teams get 3 points when they win a game, they get 1 point if the game ends in a tie, and they get 0 points when they lose a game. 8 teams play against each other in a round-robin style tournament where every team plays every other team, and the team with the most points goes directly to the finals. The team that comes in second place goes to the semifinals where they play against the second-place team from the other group. Haja currently has the same number of points as Suun, with both teams having 9 points total. But Haja has scored more goals compared to the goals they let in, so they are sitting in first place right now. The sound of someone typing on a keyboard keeps going as a reporter writes an article with a big headline. The article talks about how Haja High School is doing great because they have won 3 games in a row and are leading the qualifying rankings at this time. The reporter who is typing on the laptop feels really excited about what he is seeing. He thinks about what is going on and wonders if this whole situation is like a fairy tale story. He really wants them to keep playing this well and hopes they can have a happy ending to their season. After every game they play, more and more reporters show up to write about the games and interview the players. The reporter says he feels happy that he got to watch all of this amazing story happen from the very beginning. Sumi watches as reporters interview Shu after the game. The cheerful girl Minjong walks over to interview Shu about the match. She asks him how he feels about winning today's game since he is the team captain. Sungo starts laughing and takes the microphone away from Shu, but Shu tries to stay calm and not get upset. Sungo tells all the reporters not to worry about Shu because he is just feeling shy right now. He says he will talk for Shu and explains that all the wins are definitely because of him. As a really good player, it is not easy to stop trying to score goals yourself and instead think about what is best for the whole team. Sungo asks if this is very true and continues to praise himself behind Shu's back. Minjong turns to interview Coach Hong and asks how he was able to revive such a team and what his secret is. Coach Hong stands still without moving. Minjong quickly reminds him to answer the question and explains that after filming, she will upload the video to the school's official YouTube channel for students to watch. Right now, Coach Hong notices that the cameras are recording everything that is happening. His friendly face quickly changes into a big smile when he sees this. Coach Hong does not worry about how he looks on camera and even yells at some students while the filming is going on. 2 students who are standing far away quickly shout back that they understand what he is saying. Then he talks to the reporter during the interview and says he just quietly gives the players encouragement when they need it. The assistant comes over and tells Coach Hong that the coach from the Sanji team is waiting nearby and wants to have a few words with him. Coach Hong makes a frowning face and says okay, he will go talk to him. The assistant asks Coach Hong if he can use his phone to take a picture with him and thinks about how the coach will look in the photo. He mentions that his daughter will probably watch the news coverage too. Minjong looks all around the area searching for new people she can interview for her story. She gets a bright smile on her face after she finds the next person she wants to talk to. Minjong walks over to Maru who is sitting down and resting after the game and asks him if she can do a quick interview with him. But while she is walking toward him, she accidentally steps down hard on Maru's finger with her foot. Maru grabs his hand tightly and shouts out loudly because it hurts so much. Minjong quickly says she is sorry and grabs Maru's hand with both of her hands while she worries and checks to see if his finger is badly hurt. Yangji says he wants to be a winger, but Jinu slaps his back and says fullbacks are cooler. He explains that fullbacks control the sides of the field, while wingers just attack. Watching them, Maru wonders how he ended up as a midfielder, but he shrugs it off, happy just to play soccer. Then Maru gets a message from Yuna saying her mom is inviting him to the restaurant. Excited, he rushes to change clothes, but when he steps out of the locker room, a reporter stops him for an interview. Maru turns her down and quickly leaves. The girl starts crying and says Maru promised to go with her for the interview, and she tries to walk away, but Maru stops her and tells her that he has time since he cancelled his plan with Yuna, so she doesn't need to worry. At the same time, Yangji and Jinu hide nearby and watch Maru in secret, and they both think that he is spending time with bad girls instead of training like he is supposed to do. Then they notice the girl more carefully and realize with surprise that she is actually Minjun's younger sister, which makes them shocked. Meanwhile, Minjun is talking with Anit about their next match against Chansung, and he explains that the game will not be easy because most of the players on that team have been working together for a long time and already know each other well. He also says that the team has a famous star player named Seokan Lee, which makes them even harder to beat. At the same time, Maru and the girl are eating food together at a restaurant, acting like nothing else is happening around them. On the other side, Minjun tells the NEET that his sister once rejected Seokan, and after being turned down, Seokan ended up assaulting her. Meanwhile, Yuna and her mother wait for Maru, but Yuna explains that he cannot come today. Suddenly, the door opens and Yuna thinks it might be Maru, but it is actually Sungo. He tells Yuna's mother that he brought medicine for Yuna since she had a headache, which makes her mother laugh out loud. At the same time, Yangji and Jianu are playing video games when someone calls and tells them that Maru is out enjoying a date instead of training. They grab their weapons in anger and rush off with two others to go beat Maru. Meanwhile, Maru and the girl are happily enjoying their lunch date together. Minjong tells Maru not to speak so formally, which makes Jinu and the other guy laugh. At that moment, Seokan and his friends show up and start mocking Jinu, but when Seokan notices Minjong, he begins to harass her. He grabs her phone while trying to get her number, making her uncomfortable, so Maru quickly takes the phone back and tells Seokan to leave her alone. However, Seokan asks who Maru is and Maru starts acting confident and introduces himself as Haja School's ace player, Maru. Maru tells everyone that the well-known gangsters Jaeyoon and Junyoung always respect him and listen to whatever he says no matter where they are. He also brags about how close he is to Yangji and Shu, saying that they have a strong bond together. When Seokan hears this, he bursts out laughing and asks Maru why a guy with so much talent, no goals and no assists in any of the 3 preliminary games, has they already played. Just as Seokan is about to swing his fist and punch Maru, Jaeyoon and Junyoung show up at the spot and call Maru their boss while asking him if something is going wrong. After that, Maru shouts at Junyoung, telling him not to bother him because he is having an important meeting discussion. This makes Junyoung upset, but he holds back his anger and tries to stay calm, and when Seokan sees this, he starts to wonder why tough gangsters like them are listening to such a small guy. Afterward, everyone around looks straight at Seokan with scared faces, and this makes Seokan nervous, so he quickly walks away. Later, one of Seokan's friends asks him if he got scared, but Seokan explains that if he had caused any trouble, his whole soccer career would have gone downhill right away. After that, Seokan tells his friend to call Dongguk from Suun school and ask him if it is true that everyone is always following Maru around. When the friend calls Dongguk and asks if everyone really follows Maru, Dongguk quickly answers that it is true and even says Maru is actually very good at soccer. Meanwhile, the group is sitting with Maru at the table, and they tell him that they are thankful because he really cares for them. In reality, they are only acting nicely on purpose so that Maru will have a chance to be with Minjong. After that moment, everyone leaves the place and Minjong suddenly starts to cry, so Maru reaches out and tries to wipe the tears from her face. At the same time, Yuna and Sungo are walking by the area, and Yuna happens to see the two of them together. After that, Maru and Minjong walk outside together and she tells him that Seokan used to grab her all the time and keep bothering her. She explains that when this kept happening, more students started to get involved too, and because of all the bullying, she did not have even one friend when she first transferred to that school. She also says that Seokan would often steal her things and always force her to come to him, making her rely on him even when she did not want to. Finally, when she could not take the pain anymore, she went and told her teacher everything about what Seokan had been doing. However, she explains that the school only held a disciplinary meeting, and after it ended, the teacher forced her and Seokan to act like friends, but from that point the assaults started again little by little. Afterward, she tells Maru that because of everything happening to her, her brother Minjun also ended up getting tormented as well. One night, Minjun catches Seokan trying to force his little sister, so he loses control and beats Seokan up really badly. But when Minjun finally lets him go and starts walking away, Seokan suddenly pick up a rock from the ground and strike him with it. After that night, Minjun ends up getting kicked out of the soccer team that Seokan had led all the way to the nationals, and not only that, Minjun is also forced to transfer to another school against his will. Even after moving, Minjun keeps living with the constant fear that someone might come up from behind and try to hit him again. Back in the present time, Minjong gives a small smile and tells Maru that she had a really fun day and that she enjoyed spending time with him. Later on, the two of them arrive at the gaming cafe, where they sit together in a couple seats, and Maru starts teaching her how to play different video games step by step. After a while, they switch over to playing FIFA, and right then Maru gets a text from Yuna, who says she knows he lied about being busy and sees that he is actually playing FIFA, so she tells him to join her and play a 2 versus 2 matches. After that, Yuna and Sungo start having a hard time going up against Maru, and they even begin to think that Maru must be cheating because he is using a character named Bullied. Maru and Minjong work together and score with ease, while Sungo and Yuna get frustrated and start to feel angry. At the same time, two people wearing masks secretly report everything to Seakin, telling him that Maru and Minjong are sitting close together, holding hands, and spending time at the gaming cafe. Afterward, the match inside the game keeps going, and Maru along with Minjong manages to stay ahead and dominate every single round, which only makes Yuna feel even more annoyed than before. Suddenly, Maru and Sungo both notice that they are actually sitting right behind each other without realizing it before. Maru begins to tease Sungo by making fun of his poor skills in the game, but Yuna quickly steps in and defends Sungo, saying that he is actually a good player. This leaves Sungo surprised, since he never expected Yuna to take his side against Maru. After that moment, Minjong starts speaking in a friendly way with Maru, which makes Yuna feel jealous, so she suddenly grabs Sungo's hand and tells him that the two of them are leaving together. Afterward, Maru walks down the street by himself, quietly talking to his own thoughts about how he can make things right with Yuna. He wonders if simply saying sorry would be enough to calm her down and stop her from being angry at him. While he is still lost in his worries, someone begins following him secretly from behind, and Maru has no idea about it at all. Earlier that day, Seakin had given Yujin clear instructions, telling him to run along his usual jogging route but to keep a close watch on Maru. Seakin ordered Yujin to purposely crash into Maru on the street and make it look like an accident so that Maru would fall down hard. After bumping into him, Yujin is supposed to just keep running without stopping, pretending like nothing even happened. Seakin explains that this way it will look completely normal, since Yujin is only seen as a guy out for a run. Seakin says another runner will come from across the street at the same time. Everything happens too fast to avoid, and Maru's right leg gets broken badly. Seakin steps on a small stick and snaps it in half to show what will happen. He tells them to pretend they stepped on Maru's leg by mistake, asking whose fault it really is. However, Ingeal thinks back and remembers being a very sad child until Seakin came over to him with a bright and friendly smile. But now that same smile looks completely different and frightening to him. Seakin tells Ingeal that he was just a lost person wandering around who needed someone to help him. He gives Ingeal a warning not to mess up their plan and destroy everything they have worked for. Seakin becomes even more aggressive in his tone and says he is not asking Ingeal to kill anyone or cause serious harm. He just wants Maru to miss one small game so their team will have a better chance of winning. Ingeal thinks about this entire conversation in his mind, makes a frowning face, squeezes his teeth together tightly, and finally makes the decision to run straight toward Maru's right foot. Maru sees that something dangerous is about to happen, but the distance between them seems too close for him to react in the right way. All of a sudden, Seo Min-jun jumps out from where he was standing and pushes Ingeal away from Maru before he can reach him. Both of the guys fall down hard on the ground after the collision. Min-jun successfully saves Maru from getting seriously hurt by stopping this terrible thing from happening just in time. Meanwhile, Seakin walks around the area looking for a specific person. He makes a smirking face and talks to himself, wondering where Minjong is right now and thinking she must be somewhere close by. His eyes look from side to side until he sees Minjong sitting by herself on a park bench. Seakin takes his hat and coat off, then walks slowly behind her without making noise. Minjong suddenly tells him to stop moving without even turning her head around to look at him. Seakin asks her how she knew he was there, getting closer to her. However, Seakin keeps walking toward her and says he just wants to have a conversation with her. Minjong makes an annoyed noise and refuses to look at him or turn her head in his direction. She warns him that if he takes even one more step closer to her, she will call the police right away. She reminds him that her father got a restraining order against him from the court. Minjong explains that even though they moved to a different town, the court order still works, and he cannot come near her. Seakin laughs out loud and puts both hands up in a peaceful way to show he will not cause any trouble. He promises he only came here to talk and will not do anything else that could hurt her. Then he asks her to give him another chance because he has changed into a completely different person and swears this is true. Seakin tries to convince Minjong that Maru cannot do things better than he can do them. He asks if she agrees that choosing him would be much smarter than choosing Maru instead. Minjong cuts him off quickly and says that in football, Maru plays much better than Seakin does. Meanwhile, Seakin is at the gym doing his workout routine and lifting weights. He even takes pictures of himself to send to Minjong, trying to show off how much progress he has made with his body. But it looks like Minjong does not get his messages or see them because she is busy texting back and forth with Maru instead of him. Maru sends texts to Minjong and tells her that he is sitting at the library right now. He explains that he has to join the study group because he needs to get ready for the big exam that is coming up soon. Maru's friend who is sitting next to him sees this texting and reminds Maru that if he keeps spending time like this instead of studying, he will not pass the test and will fail. Then Maru sends another text message saying that it is finally time for him to study hard and focus on school. Maru's friend who is beside him says in a jealous way that Maru is really lucky with girls, and he makes a bet that Maru is texting with Minjong right now. After that, Maru turns off his phone. He feels determined because it is time for Maru to really start studying. But then another message catches Maru's attention and he writes while shaking and trying not to look at the phone that he must focus on. Then the message tone rings out loudly throughout the process, gradually echoing around the room and making both of them break out in cold sweat. As soon as Maru picks up his phone to check it, Maru's friend gets mad at him and reminds him that they are sitting in the library where people need to be quiet. He says if someone like a librarian was sitting near them, Maru would have already been told to leave the building. He tells Maru he cannot deal with this phone situation anymore and asks him to at least put his phone on silent mode, so it stops making noise. Maru shouts back that he promises to give him just 10 more minutes, then he will really start studying his book seriously. The message that appears on the phone screen surprises both Maru and his friend because it is actually Yuna who is texting him instead of Minjong. He wonders why Yuna suddenly sends him text messages now. Maru's friend asks what is happening with this situation, and then Maru tells his friend everything about what is going on. Maru's friend thinks carefully about the whole situation in his mind. Maru asks what he should do now and calls his friend's doctor as a joke. Maru's friend answers by saying that with all his years of experience as a love doctor, his diagnosis of the problem is very clear. Maru immediately asks what the diagnosis is. In study room number 2, Yuna shouts loudly and asks if he is making fun of her or joking around. She feels very angry and upset, and her friend who is sitting beside her asks what is wrong with her. She replies that it is because Maru keeps ignoring all of her messages and not responding to her. Then she says another angry word because she feels so mad about the situation. Afterward, we get a backstory of Fat Maru who grabs his ball and moves over to sit beside Yuna. He shows her how to click something on the screen and change the setting. His friend finishes his meal, puts on his backpack, and tells Maru goodbye. Maru responds that he will see him later. Yuna wonders why Maru hasn't been living with his friend since they arrived together. Maru feels confused about how to answer her question. He quickly talks about something else instead, mentioning that he hasn't tried the stir-fried rice cakes yet. He asks if Yuna enjoys eating them. She confirms that she does like them. Maru signals to the restaurant owner to bring them an order of stir-fried rice cakes. When the food arrives, he eats while watching Yuna play her game. She asks him about a move in the game. He tells her to press Shift and Q buttons together. After Maru finishes his first serving of rice cakes, he continues watching Yuna play. She turns and asks if he plans to go home soon. He makes an excuse about still being hungry and orders another plate of stir-fried rice cakes. She looks at him seriously and comments that this eating habit makes him gain weight. She points out that he has already eaten 3 plates just to spend time talking with her. Later, they celebrate with a high five because Yuna wins the game with his help. By the end, Maru has consumed 5 plates. The following day, Maru arrives at the shop wearing athletic clothes. He immediately orders 10 plates of rice cakes as soon as he walks in. Yuna feels excited to see him return, while the shop owner appears shocked by his large order. He sits at the table next to her and asks where they stopped in yesterday's lesson. She reminds him that he taught her about adjusting wingbacks and he suggests learning about flank attacks today. After finishing all 10 plates, Maru heads home while the mother and daughter wave goodbye. Yuna's mother comments that the boy seems to eat too much. Yuna thinks it's because he really enjoys stir-fried rice cakes. During the late afternoon, Maru feels exhausted and breathless as he leans against a street pole. He realizes he shouldn't eat so much food, but he can't find another way to stay at the shop longer. He decides to juggle his soccer ball 1,000 times for practice. On paper, soccer is his hobby, and he actually dislikes rice cakes completely. He feels thankful to Yuna because she helps him finish his homework. The players now stand in formation and today mark the match day against Chonsong School, and Maru feels confident about defeating Seakin. The match keeps going and Haja School is still having a hard time trying to get the ball, then the ball comes near Jianu but one player from Chonsong runs in fast and kicks it away right away. After that, Seakin gets the ball under control, but Junying goes to stop him, so Seakin makes a quick one-touch pass back. When the manager of Chonsong sees this, he thinks that Seakin is the best player on his team because he always knows where to pass the ball without making any mistakes. Right after that, the ball moves to Yujin, and Chattel notices that even though Yujin mostly plays as a winger, this time the coach puts him as a wingback since they are using a back 3 plans. Yujin keeps moving forward and then he stands in front of Dongqi, and he tells him that he remembers how he used to make fun of him before just for playing as the wingback. After that, Yujin sends the ball to another teammate who quickly passes it back to Seokun. Seokun then runs straight down towards the goalkeeper and takes a shot, but Jaehyun reacts fast and blocks it. Right after, Chansong earns a corner kick, yet Jaehyun jumps again and manages to stop the ball before it can cause trouble, and then it gets pushed out towards Yangji. Yangji quickly makes a pass forward to Shu, but as soon as Shu gets it, 3 defenders rush in and surround him tightly. Just at that moment, Hyung-seep runs into space, so Shu wastes no time and passes the ball over to him. Then Hyung-seep sends it to Minjun, and Minjun quickly returns the ball back to Shu. Watching this play, the coach of Chansong suddenly realizes that the whole group is now putting their focus on attacking together. How long do you think it will take for Maru to become a star striker? Comment soccer if you'd like a part 2 of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more.